All right, we are live. Let me just do a couple quick edits here. We should be ready to go. All right. All right. Go ahead in a minute. I got a lot to talk about. All right. Bear with me for a minute as I do my thing here. All right. Fix this here. Ready. All right. All right, I think we're good. A little time to flow in. All right. The 4th. All right, we are good to go on that end. Everything's saved. I'm gonna run through a couple quick announcements. Still get people filing in. All right. So, just want to run through a couple quick announcements and touch on this month's upcoming events to close the year out on Patreon, which we are in that month already, November. So let me pull up the calendar so I got the right dates, because sometimes I'll be throwing them out there. Make sure we give it the right dates. So let me pull that up and we'll run through that. All right, got that up. All right, so infernal blessings to all. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody that was that physically was able to travel here this past week for the conference. As you know, I know some people reached out to me. I don't record anything for the conference. I keep that very personal. It's archived in the subconscious mind. It's something you got to be there to experience. So I do not record anything. I do not share the rituals. I try to keep that event very personal and very special and individualized. So just to address that, because I know some people had reached out asking to purchase the classes from the conference. So no, the conference is not recorded. I keep that very personalized every year. I have personal stuff on Patreon. That's why we have the Patreon page. But I do want to thank everybody that physically traveled here, and we were able to get together and spend 4 days together doing ritual work, workshops, classes. Again, we had another successful 5th year of doing this. I also want to thank those who attended online virtually. We had several people that attended all three days outside of the meet and greet and the rituals. Attended all 3 days, all day online. It's a pretty extensive event. It's 2 full days of workshops and classes. We did rituals on Friday and Saturday night. The ritual on Friday night was an experience that I don't think anybody was really expecting or had any idea we were getting ready to do. I want to shout out a couple people that came, participated, and really did their thing. First, I want to thank Brother Demetrius who assisted and was a tremendous help with the rituals and imparting his experience. I want to thank him for the presentation he did, and all the other people that came. I want to shout out to Brother Bernard, who came for a 2nd year in a row. Andrew and his wife came all the way from Colorado. We had Brother Eric come back. Shout out to Brother Nate. Just so a lot of new people this year. Outside of 2, I believe we only had 2 returnees. It's good and it's bad. I know some people couldn't come. I know some were talking about the flights were astronomical. But having said that, that's why I put the event out. If you know for sure you're going to come, it's that same time every year. So it gives you that time to plan because, as I was telling some people, and I understand everybody has a different situation. But obviously the closer anywhere you travel, the longer you wait, the closer to the date they're going to get you on that airfare. So we try to keep it in October. I've already posted the 6th annual conference, as you see going across the ticker for next year, October 2023. I'll get a better date on that week, and it might fluctuate. It's going to be in that end of the month, October, but just depending on now that my little guy's playing travel hockey. But I'll get that date out as soon as I would have that schedule come the spring, late spring, early summer of next year. But if you're planning on coming, it's definitely in the end of October. And it's, as I said, it's in a very convenient location. We had several people this year Ubered it everywhere. Like I said, we had I know Dimitri stayed in a hotel walking blocks, literally, from the place where we did the conference, and he basically was able to walk. And I do that to keep it in the most convenient location. So just say you want to Uber it. Now, some people rent cars because they want to travel around and see things, and that's cool too. But if you're looking not to have that added expense, I mean, a lot of people Ubered it straight from the airport to their hotel and Ubered it around. Just about everybody, I think, but a few people attended the meet and greet. So we just met that night. Everybody introduced each other, and we kicked it for a little bit, had a little food, and we got to work on Friday and Saturday. But I want to thank all those that came out. Again, those that helped out, and we had another successful event. 5 years doing this. This is becoming an annual event, and it's something we're going to continue. And as I told everybody in the conference, the purpose of the conference, one of the purposes, there's many, as you guys have heard me describe, is for us to have something like this annually that we could get together, because we're on an isolated path. A lot of us, regardless of where we're at, we sometimes don't get that time to kick it with people that are on a similar path, a similar journey. So this has become a great annual thing. So we're looking forward to number 6 for next year, October 2023. All right. Also, I would encourage people, which I'm about to go over the schedule that's going to close out events and classes for this year for the most part. Pretty much after this month, I shut down until after New Year's Day, January. So I kind of finished this month out with a few things. The hectic part, as I told you, October for me and for here at Primordial Chaos is the most busiest time of year for us because of everything we got going on, classes, rituals, Patreon, the conference. So that has come and gone. Another October has come and gone. And we're looking forward to that next year. So to close out this month, again, if you're here, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, check all notifications. And also, when you check that, you hit that notification bell, make sure that check notification is checked. It's the only way you will get all notifications when there's a live video or something posted. So subscribe, hit the like button so this channel can expand out, reach more people, get more viewers, spread the word, all that good stuff. Also, we are live. Check out all of the social media platforms, which we are live on right now. We are live on YouTube right here, obviously Primordial Chaos, and all the information, announcements, and things on classes are on all three of these platforms. Here in the community section here on YouTube, check out the Instagram page, Primordial Chaos 9. You can find all the instructions and information for all the classes and things we're doing there too. And 2 words on Facebook, Primordial Chaos. We are live on all three of those platforms, which all your comments, regardless of where you're at, will get fed right here on the StreamYard. All right. So check those platforms out. I encourage everybody also to check out the Patreon page, patreon.com. There's 2 ways to participate in the 3 private classes a month, in addition to the 1 group ritual we do every month. And the best way to do that, the most economical way and the best money for your value is tier 3. Become a Primordial Chaos tier 3 member on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. That's the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page. Tier 3 for $25 a month gives you access to the 3 monthly classes and the ritual. And as I've said a million times before, I stand behind it. I don't think there's anybody offering as much content as I'm offering for that price. The information you're going to get, the stuff you're going to learn, and I say that with confidence, not arrogance. I just don't think anybody's offering it. So if you really want to take your development on this path to that next level, to me, that's the way to go. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, official Primordial Chaos Patreon page. Now you can sign up individually. That information is on all the social media platforms. Each class is available individually. If you just want to sign up for a particular class, you can do that too. But the best value is definitely tier 3. All right. Also for this month, some of you I have already scheduled. So I'll be cramming more than likely as many readings and consultations that I can get in for this month. So I'll be back at that starting on Monday. December, because some people have reached out to me, even though I shut down, I will be doing some readings outside of, I shut down, no Patreon, no YouTube. I rest on that. I will be dealing with some clients. I'm not going to overload myself for that month, but I will be dealing with some. And now I want to also throw out there, because we're at that time of the year, the yearly forecast readings. I'm going to put that back out there now for the first couple months from now until, usually I do it till about the end of February. And I'll probably add that to the ticker on the bottom on the next class. So I'll run through that in a second. But if you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation and you want to get that in before the year's out, I encourage you to get to me now. We could set that up. So I'm trying to get as many done as I can before the year is out. And again, as I said, the type of readings that I do offer, Clepothic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, shadow work readings, as I say every time, is a great place to start. If you're trying to figure out where do I start on this path, where do I begin, what direction should I be going in, etc., that's a great place to start. Deity readings, to see what type of deities, spirits, and energies walk with you to help you understand yourself. And again, from now until about the end of February, I will now start putting back out there yearly forecast readings, which is it's a little more detailed, a little bit longer than a regular reading. And it's a yearly, it's what it is. It's a forecast of what your upcoming year looks like. If you're interested in any of those readings, send me an email or a spiritual consultation. Shoot me an email. You see the information right on the bottom of the screen. Email is khnum19@gmail.com. And we will set something up as soon as we have the chance to do that. Also, to save time in that email, I always tell people, tell me the time zone you're in and your availability. It just saves excess back and forth if you really want to set one up right away. And we'll get that set up. All right. Having said that, the last thing, let me run through this month's schedule, and then we'll get into our topic for this evening. So this month's a little bit different due to some stuff I have going on personally. As I said, with my younger son playing travel hockey, it's adjusted our normal monthly schedule, but we will be doing the norm that we do, 3 classes and a ritual. But just to give you the dates, and this is why I want to be specific on this, it's the cycle of it is a little different than previous months. Also, in addition to the holiday with Thanksgiving being on the 24th, and then coupled, as I said, with travel hockey going on that I deal with my son. So here's the schedule. All right, so starting tomorrow, and again, if you want to participate in any of this, best way, as I said, is become a Primordial Chaos Patreon member at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3. So tomorrow we kick it off, November's classes, with Shadow Work class number 12. That's tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. Then on Friday, November 11th, we're doing our ritual a little bit earlier due to the Thanksgiving holiday. So next Friday, November 11th, and this is kind of what's inspired me to do this topic tonight, we are doing a ritual titled and focused on the Clepothic Cavern of Lilith ritual. It's a working, connecting with one of her Clepothic aspects. That will be for Patreon tier 3 members and above only on Friday, November 11th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Patreon only. So the ritual's a little bit out of its normal cycle this month due to what's going on, but you'll see that's for a purpose. All right. The next event or class will be Tuesday, November 15th. After that, that's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be Ancient Egyptian Vampiric class. I believe we're up to number 6. Yes, number 6. And the Ancient Egyptian Vampiric class will be on Tuesday night, November 15th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we close out the month the following Tuesday with our final class for the month. That's Tuesday, November 22nd, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the Luciferian Magic and Self-Mastery class number 3. And that will close out November's events for the year. We will do our annual charging rate that we've done for the last few years. And in the first week in January, we'll charge I'll explain that. But this will close out the events for this year. So we have the Shadow Work class 12, the Clepothic Cavern of Lilith ritual, Ancient Egyptian Vampiric class number 6, and the Luciferian Magic and Self-Mastery class number 3. So again, the best way to get access to all that, if you're interested and you want to upstep your journey on this path, right? Well, here we are at the end of another year has gone by, right? Here we are. Right? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? What are you trying to accomplish? That was always, and was this past conference, and every conference, it's one of the main focal points. Another year is winding down. Where are you at in your spiritual journey? What did you accomplish this year? What did you fail at? And what is your plans, your goals, and what are you trying to accomplish moving into 2023, right? That's where we're at, right? And that's kind of what we need to be focusing on. So if you need information on anything, all the information is right there on the bottom of the ticker, right? You see it going across the screen. And I would definitely encourage you guys to check out the Patreon. All right. Hold on one second. All right. So you see tonight's topic. Obviously inspired by next week's upcoming ritual, next Friday night. The Clepothic Cavern ritual of Lilith. I want to talk a little bit about Lilith, her different aspects, her different manifestations. We've tried some work in the past, and as I described this to some people at the conference. I've mentioned it here to you guys on YouTube and other platforms. Oh, hold on. I didn't go live on Instagram. Jeez, hold on one sec. Let me get that going. There we go. All right, we're live on Instagram now. I didn't start that. All right, but they missed the announcements. They'll be all right. We've tried work in the past. It just wasn't the right time, and Lilith made that known through different things that happened when we attempted to do some of those rituals. It was clear to me the timing was off. It just wasn't the right moment. And as I've said many times before, contrary to a lot of stuff that's out there, Lilith is not an easy archetype goddess or demon to connect with. She can be very finicky, picky, and selective in who she chooses to connect with. This is why you've heard me say over the years in the past, there's a lot of bullshit that's out there on Lilith. A lot of it always just on the maybe the sexual energy aspect of her nature, which, yeah, that's there. But I think there's so many things that's not talked about. This is going to focus more on her different aspects and manifestations, because she has different ways she personifies. There's different methods of connecting to her. And we're going to run through a little bit of that. All right. Let me pull this up here. I have a little PDF I have on Scribed here that I found. I give you that. It's called Lilith, Her Masks, Rites, and Manifestations. It's a PDF that you can find on Scribd, is where I got it from. So there's a couple things I want to run through here. We're going to talk a little bit about her legacy, her history. There's a lot of stuff out there that, again, is incorrect that we'll address. But I want to go through a section in here in this PDF called The Dreaming Eye of Lilith, titled Lilith. So let's talk a little bit about that. All right, so it says, just her name evokes a great number of visions, emotions, legends, concepts, and ideas. Perhaps one of the most well-known and worshipped divinity inside the left-hand path. For some, she is a demoness. For others, a goddess. And I'm going to go with the latter. For most of us, both. And I believe, based on experience, what you read, studying from other practitioners, they will tell you it's both, right? She has both of those natures, right? And we'll talk about that and her manifestations. Lilith is a quite complex divinity with a variety of aspects, masks, and manifestations, but also interpretations, okay? Definitely interpretation. The individual, this is what I keep trying to tell people when you're on this path. Everybody makes their own unique connection with a demon, a goddess. It's very individual. It's very unique, and it's always personalized, and it's always going to be interpreted based on that experience. So this is why, as I've said many times before, you'll see similarity with experiences and information and stuff you read in books. But you should always be focused on your own personal experience in regards to that, right? This is because she is a dynamic entity, always transforming. And with the pass of time, each initiated finds in her different powers, new personalities, and a unique wisdom in each of her manifestations, okay? As I've said before, the strong aspect that I connect to her is very vampiric in nature. To me, that aspect of her, and we'll talk a little bit about that, and this PDF touches on that. Her vampiric aspect is very transforming, right? It has a lot of hidden gnosis. There's a lot of sexual energy there, yes. It uncovers a lot about the shadow self of the individual. I find that vampiric energy has a very intellectual wisdom, outside of all the sexual energy, has the intellectual, the wisdom aspect. If there's a motherly nature there, but there's also a tough learning aspect there that she will, it's that tough love, right? That look, the change, it comes in waves. And we talked about this many times before in the past. It comes in rippling waves sometimes. And she makes the individual know, be prepared, be ready. Because one of the main things, regardless of a lot of these different manifestations and aspects and masks that she has, like a lot of other in the adversarial current, don't get me wrong, they all have intense aspects of transformational change. That, regardless, you can't get by. I say that more so for those, if you're really connected to her, right? I'm talking about the ones that are really connected to her, right? Okay, so let's go here. She had and still has a great influence, not only in magic, but also in other areas such as mythology, psychology, feminism, the movies, music, literature, and yes, astrology. And one thing, as you know, my take on astrology: use it as information to understand yourself. Don't use it as information religiously where you live by every aspect of it. That's ridiculous to me. Astrology can be a helpful tool. Some people get it twisted when I say that. What I do have strong criticism about is people that govern every move and every aspect of their life, and I think that's just straight up ridiculous. There's people that do that, unfortunately. You can't be a god or a goddess if you believe that there is that type of influence outside of yourself that has control over you, right? I'm not saying there's not significance in understanding your natal chart and all that. That's cool. And in mine, Sun and Gemini and Lilith all over it, you can see some of the deities there. So it can help you in aspects of understanding you might have strong spiritual and astrological connections to deities, for sure, for sure. All right. So no doubt it can be a helpful tool if used. So I'll make that clear, applied to help understand yourself, right? Here I won't analyze all of these influence because it's out of this book, but are all interesting things to be investigated by the reader. It's understandable that Lilith has been having all of these influences because is her who inspires passion in people. She's the one who awakens the curiosity, tempting us to go beyond the limits. And that's key. Let's talk real quick about that. When we look at her aspect, we're going to talk a little bit about obviously her connection on the Clepothic tree, which is very intense, right? When we look at her as her connection as the goddess of the Citra Aqua, right? Or the gateway to the other side, right? She definitely challenges the individual. The word the author uses there is tempting to go beyond the limits. It's that, but it's also puts in front of you to challenge you. And this is why I say one of a great connection you'll find that people make with Lilith, and that she really tends to reach out to, from my own personal experience and from hearing it from a lot of other people, even from hearing it from some elders and practitioners that have been working with her for years. The lust and that lustful energy she responds to the most is the one who has that lust and desire to gain knowledge about themselves, to go into the inner depths of their subconscious mind, to challenge themselves, to go beyond those limits, to address the shadow self, right? And that's one thing Lilith will do. You talk about dealing with shadow work, the shadow or the hidden self. Lilith will bring the shadow hidden self out, and she's going to bring it all to the surface. And she will make you address the good and bad. We talk about that all the time in shadow work. If you are not willing to do that, this is why I say the change comes in rippling waves. If you are not willing to do that, this is not the route to go. I keep telling people that. The Qliphoth in general, which I don't want to turn this into a whole Qliphoth thing because that's a class in itself. But for those that either work with the Qliphoth or the tunnels of Set, which is connected to the Qliphoth, right? You guys know the intense transformational change, the things you're faced. You're well, I don't want to say forced to feel, forced to face, but you have no choice. If you really want to navigate through and raise yourself up to be what you're destined to be, you have to face those things. So this is why I more or less, even though it says they're tempted or tempt you to go beyond your limits, you will be challenged, no doubt. And if anyone believes they're not going to be challenged on this path, you're foolish. And if you're on this path and you're not getting challenged, then I don't know what it is you're really following, because those two go hand in hand. I'm just going to keep it 100% with you. They go hand in hand. So if you don't want to challenge yourself, I would think a lot of people came on this path because they do want to challenge themselves, right? I would think a lot of people came on this path because they came from previous spiritual systems where they just weren't getting what they were looking for, or they got what they needed, but then they didn't see the growth no more, right? That's why I know that's the reason why I left a lot of paths, right? was because I just felt like I got everything there was there to get. I had questions that were not being answered. There was more things I felt I needed to know. And some of those lesser spiritual systems just couldn't give you those answers, right? Connecting with a spirit or a demon goddess like Lilith, she's going to give you the answers and more. But you must approach, connect, and have the right intent when you connect with her, because I've seen her do very destructive things to those that maybe approached it in a very fucked up manner. Like, one thing I will say to male practitioners, and this is not, we talked, I think, a little bit about this at the conference, and this is not to put, I'm not a fear monger promoter, but I tell it like it is, right? As we know, there are some things we need to be cautious and aware of working on this path, because destructive and fucked up shit can happen if you don't do your due diligence. You don't have the knowledge and the know-how. You can get yourself fucked up. So I'm not going to even deny that or dumb that down. I can tell you one thing as myself and male practitioner: she will not tolerate abusive men who mistreat women. I want to make sure I put this out there, because this has gotten a lot of male practitioners fucked up. As you know, Lilith is very protective of women. She's very protective of children. Anything connected to that divine feminine energy. I've seen men who maybe are abusive to women, could be physically, could be verbally, could be mentally. She tends to seek very vengeful energy towards them. So one thing I know in working with, whether it's clients and consultations or readings or on Patreon, whatever it may be, I always try to tell male practitioners, be careful with that, because that shit will mess you up bad. She'll make it known, and then you might be invoking something and opening up a door for a fucking whirlwind of problems that you're not ready for. And this is why I kind of wanted to touch on some of this stuff tonight, because there's a lot of bullshit out there about Lilith. There's also this fluffy bunny, new age, mother goddess of nature and all that, and that's cool and shit. Don't get tricked by that, though. This is happening over the years, not just with Lilith, with Kali. There's this very tutti frutti new age aspect of Kali out there that exists. Hecate too, or Hecate, depending on how you pronounce it. There are new agey manifest. Now, I'm not saying, I want to make this clear, because if somebody stumbles across this video, or somebody in here, maybe you're a new age practitioner, I'm not trying to step on your toes. I'm trying to step on your head. No, I'm just kidding. But no, what I'm actually saying is, I'm not saying there is not that type of energy to these demon goddesses, but I am saying don't get fooled, because I've seen people literally, and I'm sure we all have, that were into a more new age type of path, and they encountered, say, Kali or Lilith, and then they have no knowledge of their true nature, because we know that they manifested as one of the primordial mother goddesses first. And that later interpretation that you see in a more new age aspect comes way down the road, right? And people don't really understand the origins of a spirit or a demon like Lilith, how powerful and uplifting she can be, how she exhibits pain and ecstasy at the same time. The practitioner needs to be aware of that, because, again, I've seen people get the wrong message through some of those aspects. All right. So one of the most known legends of Lilith is, and this too, I'm going to go over this, but I think this also limits, because then there's the people who get caught up in the historicity or the origins of Lilith, right? I've touched on this a lot. Nobody, I don't care if you're talking about ancient Egypt. I don't care if you're talking about the Nigerian gods and goddesses of Ifa. I don't care if you're talking about the Klepothic demons, gods and goddesses. We can have a lot of philosophical and historical debates. No one really knows exactly the origin of any of them. I know there's people will make claims. There's been some research. They'll give you approximated dates and all that shit. It's a waste of time. We do know that these spirits go back a very long time ago. When you're dealing with beings of the Qliphoth, spirits like Samael, Lilith, you can't put it, Lucifer, you cannot put a time frame on these spirits and demons. People put a time frame on them based on stories they can trace them back to. Even with the Goetia or the Lost Keys of Solomon, you'll find people tend to make the mistake to connect the Goetia to Hebrew mysticism, and that's a mistake, because you're dealing with spirits or jinns or demons that go way beyond the stories of religion. I'm saying that having said to what it's going to get to in this PDF, the story, one of her known or aspects of her legacy is connected to the Garden of Eden story. But I want to make this clear. Let's not limit her origin to there either. All right. That's important to understand. So let's run through that real quick. This is going to touch on that a little bit now, right? All right, so one of the most known legends of Lilith is she as the first wife of Adam before Eve. The legend says that Lilith refused to be surmised to Adam in sexual intercourse. From the complaints of Adam to God, he looked for Lilith to be obedient to her husband and pleased him, but Lilith denied this and left the Garden of Eden. This led her directly to the caravan and the coast of the Red Seas, on where she got a new life with demons which dwelled there. This idea leads us that Lilith chose self-saved, left the security of Eden, disobeyed the laws of man and God, and entered beyond the knowledge which allowed her self-deification. Now, you'll see through a lot of these stories, this is talking about the Garden of Eden story, for an example. She is synchronized with a lot of energies and a lot of other cultures, right? People will sit there and say, for an example, Medusa, very synchronized with Lilith energy, right? People will look at Nana and Ishtar in the Sumerian and Babylonian culture, another manifestation of her energy. Now, I keep trying to tell people, and we talked a little bit about this at the conference, the reason why I keep telling people you cannot put a time frame on these spirits and demons, because they are energy beings. They're beings of light and energy, intellect beings, right? And yes, an energy being, some refer to it as etheric beings. The Rosicrucian order refers to them as vital life force when we are in that pure energy state, right? And energy, as I said, cannot be destroyed. It can only be manipulated. And this is why I used to always tell the Christians, or the monotheistic believer, you can't destroy the devil. So stop wasting your time trying to destroy something that can only be manipulated. And just the same thing with the God force. You're talking about manifestations of the same things, just different polarities. That gets into something else. But my whole point, what I'm trying to explain here, is they have the ability to take on body form throughout the course of time, through different cultures, through different histories. So this is why people will say, oh, for an example, Nana and Ishtar seem very similar to Lilith. That's because they are the same energies, right? They'll say this with Medusa, as I mentioned, the Greek goddess, a very volatile Greek goddess of transformation and change, right? It can be very destructive and reconstructive in nature. So the synchronizations are going to be there, right? This story here in the Garden of Eden is trying to tell you that for the practitioner who may be trying to demystify or despookify the religious stories, she existed before monotheism even existed. This is why you find her in the garden. Because remember, what we know is modern day monotheism, there was no established law at this point. And they would have to admit that in their stories. There was no 613 commandments, where the 10 commandments come, that were given so-called to their prophet Moses. None of this stuff existed. There was no Judaism, Christianity, Islam at this time. Nobody was following any of these man-made religions that come way after the fact. So we need to be very aware of that when we're trying to understand her legacy, her history, the different stories and mythologies that she's connected to. Because if that's important to you, to some people it's not. To me, I like to know, but it's not a tell-all be-all that I have to know. And I'm not into it to the point where people want to philosophize and debate this shit, because it's ridiculous. Because at the end of the day, nobody can give you the approximate point of origin of any of them. I don't give a fuck who it is. It's just like somebody teaching on Egypt wants to lay claim that they can give an exact time frame to an Egyptian god or goddesses. They can't. They got an idea, a rough area, this or that. I get that part. But at the end of the day, what's more important is understanding the energy or the spirit or the god or the goddess that you're working with, and how you can utilize what they represent and how you can apply that in your ritual work. Okay. So let's be clear on that. All right. Lilith has a close relationship with sexuality through her sexual alchemy. Hold on a second. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. Through her sexual alchemy, it's possible to learn how to transform the biological pulses into spiritual desires. Okay. She's the mother of demons, the mistress of abortions and miscarriage. Because she's a moon goddess, part of her mysteries rest in the power of blood and menstruation in women. The idea of reject of the biological unconscious pulse to become it in a metaphysical desire just could be achieved by killing the pulse first, right? This is in the programming that many human beings have, which says that we're born to reproduce, grow, and then die. This is an endless cycle, which leads us to nothingness, right? What would be the point of that if that's the way we looked at the whole process of life, right? Some people are at a point in their spiritual journey, they understand why they're here, right? And this is why I always tell people, if part of the hidden gnosis about yourself that you should be uncovering is, what's your purpose here, right? Why are you here? Why are you on this path? Are you getting a clearer understanding of what it is you need to learn, right? Because some people always talk about growth, change, and results, but unfortunately with some, we're not getting any of those growth, change, and results. Hold on, I keep hearing this sound. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. No, they were just doing something in there. I just want to make sure that's what it was. All right. So, like I said, let's go back into this. So she's much more, and I'm glad in this PDF it says it. She's much more than alchemy and sexual magic, which again, as I've said before, that is definitely a strong aspect connected to her. But I find the people that you run into that's all they have to talk about with Lilith. You're not making the overall connection. Sorry to bust your bubble. Because if I'm not hearing some of these things we've been talking about up until this point, transformation, going through, addressing aspects of yourself that were not easy to deal with, obviously bringing up certain traumas to the surface that are embedded in your subconscious mind. As I said, we all have a history throughout upbringing, good and bad, things that have detrimentally impacted us good, and things that have impacted us in a negative way. She will bring all these things to the surface, just like a lot of other adversarial aspects of this current do. However, Lilith, she's much more than that, and reduce her presence only to this is limiting her infinite power. Each aspect of her mask, which the dark goddess shows, have a unique personality, right? And let's talk about that. We're going to get into her masks next. That's the second thing I'm going to finish with, which manifest in a different way, teaching something different in each meeting with a unique power and independent of each other. So she comes in these many different manifestations, because you're going to find in specific manifestations, she's coming to deal with a certain thing that needs to be addressed. Maybe you have blockages, mental and emotional blockages. She'll come in that form to show you something. Maybe you need something revealed to you that you're struggling with fear, anxiety, right? Some people have a lot of insecurities in that regards. She might be coming in that form to show you something. This is why I'm saying to limit her, as it says here in the PDF, to just alchemy and sexual magic. You're doing an injustice. It shows you don't really understand who Lilith is, right? Because Lilith is quite vast and powerful, it could take our whole life and some others to know all of her aspects. But each time that we work with her, new manifestations come to light, new aspects are revealed, and a new chapter is written about her. So keep your mind open. Okay? Now, here's the most important part. Working with Lilith is a personal experience, unique and intimate for all of us. Always will be about what we are looking for and the concrete aspect of what we will work ritually. Now, I always talk about ritual work should always be in alignment. Your intent should always be in alignment to address your needs. Okay? Now, if you're looking for a way to uncover the needs, this is Lilith will show you what you need. And Lilith is a great representation and an example of a great demon to align with to address those needs. But I found where shit can go haywire for some people is Lilith will manifest things to a practitioner, make it clear, this is the direction you should be going in. This is something of serious concern at the moment. You need to address about yourself. She will bring it right in front of your face, right to the surface. I've seen people disregard it and maybe go another direction only to have that shit blow up in their face later on down the road. So I don't recommend you doing work and connecting with the mother goddess Lilith and then going the other direction, because then she will make things happen, or shit will start to happen in your life that shit can go south quick. And that's just a way of making it known. Look, you were told what to do as far as this is the direction, this is what you need to be working on. You chose to go another route. People do it all the time. And my thing is, if you come on this path, I want to make this clear. I've said this a bunch of times, and let me say it again. You are voluntarily saying as a whole, here I am, deconstruct me, take me apart so I can build myself back up together the right way. You're saying deprogram me. Let me remove all this. Let me fix what's been put in here and reprogram it, right? Because as I said, from the moment all of us proceeded out from the womb of our mother, that's when the indoctrination started, right? We were programmed from a very small age till we got older. All that needs to be deprogrammed. And in that programming, there was fears instilled in us, insecurities. We created the boogie monster, right? We created a lot of these fears ourselves based on the programming that we were influenced by, right? In addition to what we experienced in that upbringing, right? Because some of us, obviously, there's a lot of people who are victims of abuse on all levels, sexually, physically, mentally, verbally, emotionally. That has a damaging, detrimental effect. Some of us are battling, personal issues, insecurities, fears, and anxieties that are created from those situations and scenarios. And yes, regardless of how old you are and regardless of how long ago, that stuff can still affect you today. Don't let nobody bullshit you. Okay? So if you don't want to deal with all these things, if you don't want Lilith to transform all those things into positives, then don't even fuck with it. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Don't even fuck with it. All right? All right. Thus, we could find that Lilith could be a protective figure, nice, sweet, young, but other times she's despotic and complex to please. In some visions, she's young and sensual, but in others, she's old and dirty, right? Now, she can come off very rough, aggressive, intense. All of these aspects are part of an only one Lilith, but each one represents something unique. A different concept, a different power, any different gnosis. Okay? And we know gnosis is uncovering hidden things. So if you fear that you're going to uncover shit, if there's stuff you're trying to avoid, as I said before, with resistance comes persistence. Look, here's the reality. I don't care what spiritual path you're on. You could be a damn bona fide, sanctified, saved Christian. It don't matter. At some point, your bullshit is going to come to the surface. It's unavoidable. What we do that's different that other people don't do on this path, we're trying to face it head on. We're not waiting for it to bubble to the surface. We're not waiting for it to arise so it can devour us and destroy us. Whereas some people create a false sense of security, an illusional aspect of security, and then when it hits them out the blue, some people get on these lighter paths, everything's going great, everything's lovey-dovey, peace and love, kumbaya, and then when shit comes around the corner that they're not prepared for, they get fucked up. See, we don't ever put ourselves in that situation because we know what could happen. We know what's there. We're accessing it. And most importantly, if we're serious practitioners on the path, we're designing and creating ritual work to deal with it. That's the difference. This is a path of empowerment that you're voluntarily making the decision to take control of your life. That's the difference of what we do. We're not putting that control in the hands of some mythological god that sits on a chair in the clouds with a long white beard that's just not real. So we're not putting our soul and our salvation into something mythological that doesn't exist. Okay? You confirm the reality of what you're dealing with through ritual. So when these spirits and demons manifest and show themselves to you, stop worrying about putting a time frame on them and all that shit. That shit's irrelevant at that point. I gave that shit up years ago. I don't even care. I'm not interested in what other people's opinions are, right? Because there's always that group of people out there that need, there's always some fact check or source that they need, and that's okay. But then there's some who have the actual experience of it. And unfortunately, that can't always be linked to some source, some book, or some reference point. Okay? So simply, we must be aware of that, right? Lilith leads us to walk in the path of self-salvation. Listen to that. Where does Lilith lead you to walk in what path? Did it say religious salvation, some Messiah figure coming out of the clouds to save you salvation? Did it tell you some salvation coming from somewhere outside of yourself? No. Lilith walks you down a path of self-salvation. We call that in Luciferian practice apotheosis, self-mastery, self-deification. The key word that people do not hear in that is self. This is why I keep saying for years, the helping hand you're looking for or have been looking for years is at the end of your arm. The God that you've been looking for that salvation, or the goddess you've been looking for that salvation, starts with you. You see that God or goddess every day you look in the mirror. It all starts with you, not outside of you. Where a lot of those other paths, as I've said a million times before, it's an outward journey in. This path is completely reverse. It's an inward journey out. See, that's why it's called the left-hand path, right? Because that's just a term that's just obsolete to what people consider right or the right-hand path. It's just a term. It really means nothing at the end of the day in the sense that, unfortunately, people hear left-hand path that are ignorant and they think, oh, left-hand path, that's just Satanists and people in the Church of Satan. No, that's totally untrue. That is one small fragment of what is labeled in that inner circle of left-hand path. But not everybody that's left-hand path is a Satanist. We need to understand that. Okay? So these are all important things that we must take into account when we're walking that path of self-mastery. Nobody's going to do this shit for you. I've been saying this shit for years. That's when I learned this years ago, and I'm not part of no more Mickey Mouse groups and clubs, and I don't want to be down with no more cliques. None of that shit. I'm not coming up under anybody. You understand that? I don't bow down to nothing or no one. Okay. And I don't give a fuck who likes it or who don't. Okay. And there's sometimes people have this false thing that having a title or being an elder automatically grants you the ability for respect. That's not true either, because I know there's a lot of elders out there that don't know shit. And being an elder is not just on age. Being an elder is an elder in wisdom and understanding, right? There are some elders out there who are elders by in all definitions of the word, whether it's age and wisdom. But there are some who just take titles and think they're entitled to it because of the title, but they show no wisdom, no understanding, no knowledge of what the fuck they're talking about. So I bow down to no one, and neither should you. All right. She tempts us with wisdom and power, the one which is outside of security and comfort zone. To achieve it, we must be ready to face our desires and repressed fantasies, face our personal shadow. See this? Right? Desires is it's not just sexual energy. The desires is connected to the sexual energy. We might have other desires that we've been afraid to carry out. A desire could be maybe you feared you wanted to start your own business, but you've been afraid to take the chance, to gamble. Right? I want to be clear on that, because there's programming there too. We hear the word lust and desire, and we automatically assume that's just dealing with sexual energy. Yes, there is a connection with that, no doubt, but that's not all it's talking about. You might have had desires to experience certain things, but we're afraid. You might have had desires, as I said, to start a business, take a chance on something in life, or try something that maybe you were told it's taboo, it's not the right thing to do, but there's something deep down inside you that you always wanted to experience it or experiment with it, right? She brings you down that route. She makes you face that. Okay. That goes all in line with desires too. We need to understand that. In addition to the sexual energy, maybe there could be repression in sexual energy. One can be oversexed or undersexed, right? With Lilith, right? She can uncover, showing you if you are dealing with either or, because now we need to be clear. Sexual energy can be transforming and changing, but can be very destructive. It can be very draining and devouring if not utilized correctly, right? That's something we need to understand. Lilith will show you that when it comes in regards to that, because there are some people you can be repressed on a sexual energy wise, and you could be suffering spiritually, and it could be affecting you on all other levels because you're not experiencing your desires or you're not satisfying yourself in those areas. But it could be reversed too now. Let's be clear on this. There are some who can be oversexed and have no control of their sexual energy, and that can be destructive and devouring. Lilith will show you the fine line that you need for your own personal harmony in regards to that. Now, you must be ready for that, because uncovering her sexual alchemy or sexual energy is a very intense learning process. There's a very intense wisdom aspect to that one must be prepared and ready to indulge in. Okay, so this is all connected to her, right? If you're not willing to explore that route, if you're trying to play it safe, all I can say is don't do it, Chief. You're gonna mess yourself up. Don't do it. All right. All right. Only accepting these dark aspects of the self will we be able to achieve the self-salvation, right? We all have the dark hidden aspects of ourselves. We have a lot of bullshit. If you can't embrace all aspects of yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly, you'll never become a master or a god or goddess on this path. Can you look at yourself in the mirror, admit what's fucked up about yourself, and embrace it? Or do you or do you tap into the destructive part of your ego, where you're in denial about certain shit? Being in denial about shit like that is a destructive part of your ego. The good aspect of your ego that protects yourself, I'm not talking about that. We're talking about when we're in denial, when we have cognitive dissonance, as they say. We have the proof right in front of our face, but we're still in denial. Or maybe we're delusional to the point where we've convinced ourselves that there's nothing wrong with us, right? I see there's some people literally think they ain't got no shit wrong with them. That's the first thing that's wrong with you, thinking that there's nothing wrong with you. I don't get it. There's nobody walking the planet today that ain't got some fucked up shit about them. I don't care who you think they are. I don't care how well refined they might appear on the surface. You do not know what's going on in here and with everybody. And in here is where a lot of fucked up shit is going on. Trust me when I tell you. Okay? There's a lot of people that bury that. They put it into compartments in their subconscious mind. And Lilith says, oh, you want to try to hide it there? No, I'm going to pull this motherfucker out and I'm going to put it right in front of you. What you going to do with it now? Now you know. What do you want to do? If you ain't ready for that type shit, then you might as well go back to being a Buddhist or whatever the fuck it was where you came from, because this ain't the path for you. Okay? Straight up. It's not the path for you. So you must be willing to face the personal shadow, embrace the dark aspects of yourself to achieve self-salvation. Couldn't put it any better. Not all the experience with Lilith will be similar. One could be painful, or some of them can be painful. Others full of passion, sex, experimentations, but others with melancholy or full of antinomianism. Look at the varying aspects and manifestation that she connects with. High levels of knowledge, wisdom and understanding, sexual power and energy, uncovering the shadow and the hidden side. I mean, I don't know how much more vast you can, but this is all needed for the practitioner who wants to embrace the path of self-mastery. This is the only way. Show me another way. It doesn't exist. You can't pray your bullshit away. I don't give a fuck. All those people who are religious, you could go to church 7 days a week. Oh, dear Lord Jesus, God Almighty, please help me. Fix this about me. Do this for me. Give me this. I need this. I need that. You can grovel in front of any unforeseen spirit and beg them and ask them for things and have them. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, and this is why that's a never-ending cycle of nothingness going nowhere. When you connect with this energy, Lilith is going to show you, okay, here's what's fucked up. Boom, doors open. This is what you need to do to fix it. But I ain't doing the shit for you. You need to do it for yourself. See, that's the learning curve, right? That's what separates the mature practitioner from the bullshit practitioner. Because the one that wants to go through that door and do that work and take that step to the next level is going to go ahead and do it and embrace it. The one that's bullshitting with themselves, straddling the fence, they're going to find a way to back out. And they're going to find a way to just play games. And the only person they're hurting is themselves. And that's where it becomes a little fucked up. Trust me when I tell you. All right. All of these ways will be dependent on our spiritual needs to keep on in the self-initiatory path. But also it is about the face of the goddess, which we're working on. So you got to understand what aspect you're connecting to give you a better understanding of how you proceed forward. Okay. A common element in all ritual is the use of blood, and in some cases, the use of self-erotic practices. Now, yes, in self-erotic practices, whether it's self-stimulation, masturbation, group with a significant other, a powerful element in understanding sexual alchemy and sexual energy through the power of orgasm and the power of sexual fluids being charged is a very powerful magical practice when understood, and especially in relationship to Lilith. And this is why, as mentioned in the beginning, we were talking about one of the most powerful aspects a female practitioner can use, even a male or together, but more so connected to the female practitioner is the menstrual blood, because she connects to that lunar energy. The lunar energy dealing with that of the hidden gnosis of self is powerful. And we know the woman's menstrual cycle is in alignment with the lunar cycle, right? So this all connects. This is why I cracked up a little while back. It was earlier this year, whenever it was. The whole blood moon shit had me cracking up. Oh, don't do anything during the blood moon. Oh, don't do this. Oh, I did a video. And that's the time, if you connect with Lilith energy, that's the time you want to do work. Fuck what everybody else is telling you. Oh, the blood moon is this and that. Oh, don't do this. Oh, it's too volatile. Oh, no, I was at work during the blood moon. I embraced the blood moon. I want to tap into that chaos, that raw power, that divine, demonic, feminine energy that Lilith manifests through the blood moon. Shit, if you work with Lilith, why would you tell people not to work with the blood moon? Okay. That to me is further proof people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But that's a whole nother story, right? So there is that connection, and there is power in knowing the correct way how to use the blood. right? That is connected to this path, right? Both are part of the rituals with Lilith. So if you do not agree with drop some of your blood in the rituals or aren't able to stimulate in the middle of a rite as a vehicle of spiritual ascension, maybe this is not for you. Even the author of this PDF is saying the same thing. Maybe it's just not for you. Remember, she's going to challenge you to go beyond your normal limits. She's going to open up doorways that you've never experienced before. It's the only way the divine or the God or the goddess can be brought out of the individual. It's the only way you're going to truly understand yourself. You must test yourself, challenge yourself, be pushed to those limits. It's the only way you're going to see how strong you are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, right? That's the only way it works. You're not going to get it by joining some organization and going through some structured rites. You're not going to get it because you read an X amount of books. You're not going to get it because you come up under some guru that claims they have all the answers to everything and they have the connection to the spirit world. It just doesn't work like that. The only way you're going to get it, each individual must walk this path in their own uniqueness and have their own individuated experiences to raise themselves up to the self-realization of what real truth is to them. Not because somebody told it to you, not because I'm telling you things. Even though I'm speaking a lot of truth in regards to this, it's still not a reality to you until you experience it yourself. This is the process of how we need to start thinking, right? So maybe it's not for you, and the works here couldn't adapt to your needs. Both the use of sexual fluids and blood could be an offering to the goddess, but one doesn't supply the other. Also, the use of blood opens the portal to the other side. I've talked about this for years. Now, I want to make this clear because I always get this question to maybe some of the people who are a little reserved. Is it necessary or mandatory? I want to make this statement because I've had people in the past not hear me clearly when I said this. People will reach out to me. Do you have to work with blood on the left-hand path in the occult? Is it a mandatory practice? Absolutely not. I want to make that clear because I get these emails off and on throughout the years because, I have some people that reach out to me. They just don't like the idea. They're just not comfortable with it, and that's fine. So I want to address two parts to this. One, is it mandatory or necessary? Let me say it again. For all those that maybe didn't hear me, or maybe you're watching the video and maybe you got sidetracked because you went to the refrigerator to go grab a Hostess Ho-Ho or some shit and you weren't paying attention. Let me say it again slow and clear, okay? Is it mandatory that you work or have to work with blood on the left-hand path of the occult? Absolutely not, all right? It can't be any clearer than that. Having said that, I can tell you in regards to, as it says here, and what I'm going over, and many other books and many other practitioners will tell you what I'm about to tell you, including myself, from my own experience, it is a very powerful element, as described here, that opens up portholes and dimensions to the other side, because the very life force, the very vital life energy is in the blood. There's no greater offering you can offer to a spirit because you're connecting. When you're using a drop of your blood, say on a sigil, what you're doing is you're connecting your vital life force with the spirit or the demon's vital life force, and they merge and become one. That, in essence, becomes a part of your DNA. It opens you up to high states of consciousness. And not only do you just connect with the spirit or the demon, you embody and become, when doing work correctly, what that spirit or demon recommends. So I'm saying there are great benefits that you will be able to experience with the use of it that you probably will not experience in certain ritual work if you don't. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't mean you still can't make a connection, and it doesn't mean you still cannot work effectively. I'm just saying there is a lot more power in certain aspects where needed when you do. That's it. So I'll make that clear so nobody needs to email me about blood and this and that. It's a personal choice, all right? I can't put it any clearer. This is why I don't respond to certain emails, because I just don't have the time to address certain things like that, in my opinion, that I think some people that email me have enough of the experience to figure out on their own. That's why. So I just want to make that clear. It's a personal choice, all right? Finally, Always approach the works with Lilith with respect. Remember that she will be your teacher, your ally as a divinity, older than mankind. So look, she's older than the existence of human beings, right? Literally. How do you trace an energy, a spirit that goes back that long? And look, we can say this with Lucifer, as I said earlier, Samael. We could say this with Arachne, the spider goddess. We could say this with Hecate. We could say this with any of them. We're dealing with spirits that existed before humankind even existed. That didn't come into the awareness where people, humans, mortals, made the mistake of tracing their origin back to a story through one of their philosophical religions. Don't do that shit. You're making a huge mistake. You're limiting what you're working with and you're not understanding it, right? She should be treated with the respect that she deserves. Lilith doesn't want a blind devotion, not a follower that could not think by himself. Instead, she enjoys independence, and it is one of her primal lessons. I keep telling you guys this for years. The people that effectively connect with the gods, the goddesses, the demons, the spirits, whatever you want to call them, are those that show these spirits, as it says here, that they exhibit a certain level of intelligence and wisdom. Because a spirit like Lilith, when she sees an individual who has that knowledge and wisdom, that's what I meant earlier. That's the supreme lust, I like to refer to it, Lilith. When she sees that the initiate has the knowledge and the wisdom and lusts for more of that learning and that understanding and that knowledge, that's who she tends to connect with quicker. A lot of other spirits, same way. They're looking for individuals they can walk with side by side. You have to be careful, because if you take this inferior approach to some of these demons and you take that worship approach that some do, say with a spirit like Belial, your ass will get chewed up and spit out. Because if some of these spirits see you're coming with an inferior approach, they can make your life a hot mess of trash. Trust me when I tell you. So that comes with understanding what you're working with. It also comes understanding yourself. See, if you understood both, you would never put yourself into that predicament. So this is very important. She looks for somebody that has that independence. Independence of what? Not being a conformist, not being a follower, being a free thinker. Somebody who could stand on their own. Somebody who makes decisions for themselves. Somebody who doesn't have to be told what to do. Somebody who's not a follower that waits to be told what to do or just accepts things because everybody else is accepting it or doing it. Lilith despises people like that. If you don't have that independence, that spiritual sovereignty, that spiritual freedom of your nature about yourself, you're not going to be able to connect with her. Trust me when I tell you. She don't connect with people who are followers that just want to play safe, that just want to stay in line because the in crowd is doing it. Oh, I just want to do this because that's what's popular now. One thing she hates is motherfuckers who do the popular thing because it's what's in right now. No, you must show that level of independence in all aspects of your spiritual life. That's what it's saying here, right? And it is one of her primal lessons. It's possible to have an act of acknowledging to her and offering candles, flowers, incense, etc. to thank her, but don't mistake an offering with blind independence. See, some people think because they do work, and this is a good section here. I'm going to finish with this. Man, this is some good shit here, man. I love this shit. Anyway, some people think by doing an invocation or lighting a few candles or as it says here, giving some offerings, like that's going to fix all your problems. Don't confuse that and blind yourself to the reality of the truth of what's going on here. Look, if it was that fucking easy, okay? If it was that easy, man, like I said, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. It's just not that easy, people. It don't work like that. Anybody that's selling you a quick way out, anybody that's selling you a quick fix, got to hustle. Trust me when I'm telling you, it's a hustle. Ain't nothing that's good or that's going to uplift you, that's going to change you, that's not going to require you to put in hard work. Bottom line, anything that's good for you is going to take hard work to get. Okay? And when I say hard work, I want to be clear because people hear that, oh no, well, stuff happens for me. I'm so fucking special. I'm not talking, listen, I'm not talking about hard work and just time and the length it's going to take for that accomplishment. I'm talking about the shit you're going to go through to get it. The changes, the emotional roller coasters, the up and downs, the different things you're going to experience, the hardships, the positive, the good, the bad. I'm talking about all of those. That's the hard work, right? Because when you're going through changes on that level, there's a cutting away, there's a separation of things you're going to be dealing with. Sometimes your social circles are changed upside down. People are just taken completely removed out of your life and your path because you find out they're very toxic for you, right? You find out in this uncovering process that people you thought were good for you, that you might have relationships for years, the reality and the cold hard pain comes from you might have to cut them off because you start to see ways about them that you didn't see before when you were not aware and the psyche wasn't awakened. So that cutting away can be very painful of person, places, and things. You might have had certain ways about yourself that you've been doing for years that you thought were productive. You even might have thought they were helpful for you. And Lilith shows you, no, man, this shit right here, this shit, fuck this. This shit's no good for you. And then replaces it with something that's even more intense, right? We must be prepared for all those things. We can't avoid it, right? And this is the cold, hard reality of working with her, right? And one must understand this. And to close your eyes and turn the other way is disastrous. So let's talk a little bit about her as the mother of demons. I want to finish with this, a short section. And then the last thing I want to finish with is her as the queen of vampires. That's the last. I want to finish with those two. The mother of demons and the queen of vampires, right? So let's talk about her as the mother of demons. I'm a Lilith, right? You'll hear that word. Mother of the black womb. There's a mantra that I do all the time with that. I vibrate just I'm a Lilith. It's a very powerful, simple mantra. You'll see that word Amma Lilith or Mother Lilith connected with a lot of her invocations as they start off, right? A mother just doesn't mean in the sense of mother of what we know on the physical what a mother is. There's that nurturing aspect, but she is the primordial, the origin of these demons. Watch this. Amma Lilith is the mother of the black womb, the queen of demons, and a fascinating aspect of the dark goddess. This is one of the most complexes, and it demands a big amount of time to understand its, totality. This is her hidden gnosis aspect. This is her deep, intense spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding aspect of all aspects of spirituality, sexual energy, hidden gnosis of the shadow self, uncovering her hidden mysteries of the void and the abyss. It is very complex. A lot of this is uncovered through her aspects through the clip pop, right? Because we see her facilitation on the clip pop in relation to Samael. They are the facilitators. And we know when you get to that 11th clip, the 10th going into the 11th, that's where she guides the initiate through the void and the abyss, the mother of the Sitra Akra, right? This is a very, very spiritual, intense aspect of her. This is the one the practitioner connects with to really understand themselves. This is the aspect of her where she brings great transformation and change, right? This is the part that most people don't, all the people that are just so locked into the sexual alchemy of her, I just don't understand how they just don't or negate this part altogether sometimes. It just doesn't make sense, right? This is one of the most complexes, and it demands a big amount of time to understand its totality. Each time that we work with her, new things are revealed. In the first encounters, it's common to have visions with Amma Lilith in her human shape. A beautiful woman, could be red long hair, black long hair, usually naked. She can have emerald green eyes. She's a seductress and sensual and invites us to join her. In time, the visions could change. Slowly, she begins to reveal the most primordial aspect. Her reddish hair becomes dark. Also, her face until we can only see her eyes, which are not human anymore. Instead, are reptilian ones. From her back rise a pair of wings, and 2 extra arms come out of her body. This is getting into some also her reptilian or vampiric aspect, which we'll talk a little bit about. That'll be the last part I finish with, right? From her back come a pair of wings or extra arms out of her body. From her vagina drops blood, which falling to the floor and becoming the place in a desert without life. The more we close to her, more a primal being she becomes. We can notice the dark initiatrix, the black womb, the mother of demons. Alma Lilith has 2 strong associations inside the tree of Qliphoth. Let's talk a little bit about that. On one hand, we can find her inside of Gamliel. Now, you'd have to understand the Qliphoth to understand this. So those who understand the Qliphoth are going to understand this. The moon and the astral plane, right? She's very synonymous with the astral plane because one of the most powerful and effective ways she communicates to a practitioner is through the dream world. Anybody that's worked with her through dream magic, dream workings, one effective practice I've always told people that works very well is to anoint one of her sigils and place it under your pillowcase, or put it inside the pillowcase, underneath the pillow, or under the pillow itself. Because what tends to happen is when you've charged that sigil, as I said, those sigils when charged are portholes and gateways to other dimensions. When you place that right near the crown or the crown chakra, when that crown is open, right, you have the ability to have all types of astral or spiritual out-of-body experiences, right? The opening of the crown chakra is how certain energies are able to get in and use your body as a vessel for incarnation, or what some people call possession, right? So what you're doing is activating, connecting with her through the astral or the dream realm. She is very big on that, and a lot of people have experiences with her through the dream or the astral world, right? And this is why on that part of the Qliphoth with Gamliel, she's connected to the lunar mysteries and the astral plane. Because those that work the Qliphoth in connection with Gamliel and Lilith will tell you they usually have very intense, powerful dreams in relationship to working with her, right? So this is something that we must consider, right? And be aware of, not just consider. Usually here we have visions of her as a seductress woman who guides us in the labyrinth of fantasies and desires. Also, she's the one who leads us to the meeting with her children, the succubus and the incubus, demons of pleasure, flesh, and desires, right? So she will take the person to the limit of their sexual taboos, right? The exploration of them, or dealing with them on some level, because a lot of people have that suppressed sexual energy that they've been suppressing because there's been a lot of indoctrination and programming just over the naked body, just over sexuality in general, right? There's still this taboo-ness in certain areas. Now it's exploited in others. Don't get me wrong, because we're living in a different day and time. But still, there's this taboo-ness. There always has been for a long period of time. And there's this politically correct agenda that has always existed of what's right and wrong in sexuality, right? So the initiate will be faced with that, right? One thing that Lilith is very important to when it comes to sexual alchemy, sexual energy, is that the individual that understands their sexuality and they're very comfortable with it, right? I've seen over the years, I've seen how sexual energy can be uplifting and empower a lot of people on many good levels, but I've also seen it destroy people where they have no control over it, right? And this can be a very destructive factor, because not understanding the power of your sexual energy and how to facilitate it, it can eat away from you at the inside. And it can be very destructive mentally, emotionally, and transform into your spiritual practices. So she's very big on connecting on that level and having you understand it. Her second association on the Qliphoth is with Satriel, or Saturn, the stellar plane. Here's a connection with Lucifer or Satan. Here on the other visions, they become strong, where she is the dark womb and her role is the mother. Taking her throne as the dark goddess, of course, is not necessary to working with the Qliphoth to find some of these aspects of Lilith. So doesn't mean you're only going to uncover these working with the Qliphoth. You're going to uncover them naturally, but you have no choice. If you're going through the clip path, you will have to navigate through them, is what I'm telling you, right? So we need to understand that this is a very intense aspect as the mother of demons, dark goddess of the black womb. The working with Lilith is strong and has a special place while we're seeking guide inside the mysteries of her lunar magic, astral rituals, the projection to other planes, the contact with the incubus and the succubus, and dream magic. Here, this aspect of Lilith could become essential, okay? In our trip, in our self-initiatory process, she could become our guide and teacher to then being the womb from which we enter to die and reborn symbolically. And this is a great metaphor. Essentially, when you work with Lilith, that's what you're doing. You're going back into the dark womb of the primordial goddess. You're dying to be reborn again, literally. That's why I said earlier, this path is about here. I'm here. Deconstruct me, take me apart, destroy everything about me so I can rebuild myself again. Okay? As the term is used here, you're working your way back to go into the dark womb of Lilith so you could be reborn again. Because in the dark womb is where you're going to be regenerated, revitalized, renewed. That's where the transformative change with Lilith takes place. Because in her dark womb, some refer to it as her cave, right? We've seen in many books people talk about the cave of Lilith, right? The cave that they're talking about, even though there's a lot of visualizations and ritual work that draw images from a literal cave, but that dark cave you're really going into is her womb, right? This is important to understand, right? Before the rituals, there are some things that should be paid attention to. Take advantage of the moon's influence if you can. Full and new moon is when there is more power and related to this mask, right? So here, it gives you that idea if you can plan it, right? Also, you can look for information about the hours where Saturn rules. During the ritual days, don't have sex. The abstinence will help you to have more fluid contact with the goddess. After and before each ritual, do some powerful ritual for your aura and your chakras. We talk about this a lot on the Patreon classes. We talk about this heavy in the Kundalini awakening classes. I always tell people grounding, cleansing techniques, chakra meditations, Kundalini meditations, raising the Kundalini energy through the chakras is something that you should do consistently, especially after doing work with Lilith or any similar type of energy, because, and we were talking big about this at the conference for the whole 4 days, there's always an influx and exchange of energies going on at all times when you're doing ritual work. Being on this path and in general, there's always a giving and a receiving. To harmonize that giving and receiving aspect, you should be doing work like that. In between is very important to keep you harmonized, to keep you operating at your most powerful, peak level. Is you should be doing that work, right? Now, something important I want to talk about. It's common feeling tired or without energy after working with Lilith. With the pass of time, this feeling ends. Banishing rituals are not advisable. I don't do banishing. I've made this clear for years. I stopped doing that when I came on this path fully. The reason why: you don't want to banish or destroy any energy because it all serves a purpose. The difference, a lot of openings we do, whether it's the draconian ritual opening, casting a hermetic circle, you're actually drawing all of that primordial chaotic energy to you. Then you're sealing a circle and keeping it controlled by you, the magician, in your working space, because you're going to need all of it for certain work you do. So you want to be able to harness it. Banishing or destroying that, one, says two things. You're not in control, and you have accepted in your subconscious mind that there is energy and power and forces out there that you are inferior to or are afraid of. So I never advise banishing. I advise doing some type of formal opening, calling the four corners, casting, any of those things are great tools to harness the energy and the power that a practicing magician or adept needs in their spiritual work. To me, it all needs to be present, whether it's being utilized or not, because it's all too connecting. So this is why over the years, when people have either sent emails or brought it up in classes, I don't do like the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram. That's Hebrew mysticism. That's invoking archangels. It connects you in line with that monotheistic current that has nothing to do with this path. Okay? In my opinion, now there might be others that tell you otherwise. There are people on the cult and the left-hand path that do banishing. So I'm not telling you you can't do it. I am telling you I don't teach it and I don't utilize it. So I just want to make that clear, because then some people say, oh, well, it's not true what you say. Oh, I know, I do banishing for years. And oh, well, that's cool. That's cool. But really, you may not be understanding fully that you're actually stripping yourself of a very vital element. I don't utilize it. I don't practice it, so I don't teach it. I just want to make that clear. So I agree with what the author is saying here. All right. Remember that we're the ones who invite these forces to our lives. So you have to have respect for them. You just can't kick them out. That is why I don't do banishing either. Because you can't banish an energy or a spirit that you invoked to do some work and then think you're just going to, as it says here, just kick them to the curb. Shit don't work like that. Okay? There's shit that don't work like that. Now, cleansing your altar space, I recommend, if you've worked with vital energy, that's not banishing. So if you're taking sage, if you're taking, say, Florida water, sea salt water, or sandalo, or any type of spiritual cleansing, you're harmonizing the vibrational frequency of the energy. That's not banishing. When you're cleansing something, you're not removing it altogether. When you're doing, like, say, cleansing of your altar space, what you're doing is getting the vibrational frequency and energy in correct alignment with the work that you're doing. That's a different mental process and approach than just completely thinking you're banishing or eliminating or destroying something altogether. Okay? As I said before, you can't destroy energy. You can only manipulate it. So in essence, when you really look at it technically, you can't banish. Really, it doesn't really exist. You're creating that illusion in your mind because, as I said, energy can be manipulated by the practitioner, the adept, the magician, but it can't be destroyed. Energy cannot be destroyed. You are energy. Though you give up the physical body, the physical shell, though you will give up the physical breath on the physical realm, but the soul and the spirit, the vital life force or energy of your existence, that never dies. Okay? And when we deal with reincarnation, we're talking about going from one state, from one vessel, and incarnating in another vessel, right? I'm not gonna get into the reincarnation thing because that's a complex subject. There's not the time for it right now. But what I'm trying to say is energy can only be manipulated. All right. Moreover, inside left-hand path, and especially in the draconian tradition, we seek a direct contact without barriers. That's why, again, we don't banish, right? Without barriers. Only in the intimate and close encounter we will be able to have real results. Finally, the use of blood is present in all rituals. It's part of the draconian tradition and other paths, in particular with Lilith. With some drops is enough. It's not necessary that you hurt yourself, okay? It's not about the quantity. Instead, it's the act which carries the magical power, the intent. And I've said this before. I've always encouraged people, when you are working with blood, be very safe. If you have to use a lancet, use a lancet. Draw a very safe, liberal amount. All you need to do is prick your finger. You can use a speck or a drop of blood, can just be as effective or powerful. You don't need to use ridiculous large amounts. And you definitely don't need to hurt yourself. It's the act or the intent, right? And just a small portion of it is needed, and it goes a long way. So I've always encouraged people to utilize it in a safe, effective manner. I want to be clear on that. All right. If you don't feel nice with this, you can omit it. However, sooner or later, it will be a must to advance in your ritual work. And that's why I was saying earlier, is it necessary, a mandatory practice to utilize blood in left-hand path occult work? No. But I think you're not going to reap, as it says here, you're going to get to certain levels in your work where you're just not going to be able to get the full benefits if you don't. That's just a reality. So it's up to you, the practitioner, have to make that choice if you do or you don't. Nobody can make that for you, right? The last thing I want to do is talk about Lilith in her aspect as the queen of vampires. This will be the last one. And then I'll go through some of your questions, okay? Or comments that's in relation to this. I will try to keep this a little shorter tonight. The queen of vampires, and she's known in this, her name, very important, Adrat or Adrat, some say Adrat Lili. Another powerful mantra, Adrat Lili, Adrat Lili. When this is recited repetitiously, now I will tell you this. This is a very strong aspect that I connect to her personally, like many others who do. Don't fuck with this one. She's no joke in this aspect. I have the utmost respect for this aspect of Lilith. And I say, fortunately, not unfortunately, this is the aspect of herself that is attached to me. Every time I work with her, now she embodies a lot of those aspects. We just talked with her as the mother of all demons and the mother of the black womb, because that's ingrained in this aspect too. But I have a strong aspect connection with this and those combined. And it is some intense shit. When I tell you, it is some intense shit. It is beautiful. It is blissful, invigorating, painful, tough, emotional, happy. I could put it into all those words. It is a ball and an influx of all of those energies. She is known as Ardat Lili. It's a dark and complex aspect of Lilith. She sees or views as the queen of vampires, beings which dwell in the depth of the Klepothic tunnels, especially in the tunnel. This is a hard one for people to pronounce. I'm going to say it slow. Thanti Faxath, which is a very, when you work with her in these tunnels, and that's a tunnel, that's getting into one of the tunnels of Set. This can be very, very shocking. You might have to face some aspects of yourself you've been in serious denial about. You really sometimes look back and you see things about yourself here that you didn't see. And it could be, as I always talk about this, maybe you find out you've come to the realization that you've been a horrible mother to your children and it's shown to you in depth, or a horrible father. Maybe you negate your responsibilities. Maybe you've been in denial about certain psychological and emotional traumas that you've been struggling with, and you don't realize the effect and the scars that's there comes to the surface, etc. It's a very intense path, right? So there's a connection with that tunnel. And deep inside in Gamliel, the dark side of the moon, Ardat Lili unites two opposite concepts, Eros and Thanatos, right? It means the pulse of life and eroticism and the pulse of death. So in this aspect, she shows you, here's the deep thing, man. And this is the most powerful aspect that I've learned from Lilith. She shows you the fine line between life and death. One must make, in order for someone to be successful on this path overall, one must demystify and remove the fears of death that have been programmed in us. Okay? I want to make this clear. You will face that number one question of what death is. It's something that has mystified all of us for years, going back to being small children. It's something that kept us and certain others in religion for years out of fear of death. Lilith will take you through that ride and show you it's not what you think it is. What you're going to find out, and I can just put this in a simple nutshell, okay? What we're calling living is not living. You're actually dying. You're living death now. Or I should say you're not living. Let me rephrase that. You're experiencing death now. When you came from the other side through the womb of the female, right? Pay attention to that. When you were birthed into this physical world, the death and decay process began. You came from the side of immortality. You came from the side of the spiritual realm. This here, this is dying, people. Don't confuse this for what the living that you think it is, okay? Because as you get older, think about it. Regardless of how well you keep your shape, you could exercise, eat well, at some point, age creeps in. The cells start to decay. Sickness to some degree, hopefully, not much for most of us, but we can't control that. The aging and decaying process starts from the time you emerge from the womb of your mother. It's the death process on the other side. We're on the other side. We think that's the other side. That's the actual side. That's the point of origin. That's where immortality exists. This is not living, people. So this is why when you hear terms like enjoy your time here, because it's temporary. Live life to the fullest with discipline. Indulge with discipline. This is why people that are miserable and stress out about dumb shit and are just hard, just nasty, fucked up people are people that don't understand their existence. It's temporary, people. Don't get so stressed out and caught up in it. This is just a very small speck of your existence that is going to go in the blink of an eye. I know that sounds fucked up. And I know you're like, man, it feels so long. But don't calculate linear time as has times calculated on the other side. It's not the same thing. Don't do it to yourself. See, those that understand that mystery, that nonsense, know. These are people who are more happy and joyful. This is why, look, man, look, let me show you something, man. Let me show you what I just got, man. To show you, like, I told you I go big for the holidays. Let me just show you something. Let me show you. Let me show you. You can see. Let me show you. I've already started, man. Let me show you. Get my man here. I don't know if you can see him. Let me get a good camera angle. This is why I said, like I said, there are people who have a joy and a zest for life, and I'm about to explain something that most people don't understand. I just can't see if it's in the frame. But let me go and show you something. We've already started. We've already started. Let me see if he's in the picture. I don't think you can see it. It's too far. Is it out of the picture? Nah, I think because it's red. You can't see it. Yeah, it's coming in a little bit. Nah, you're not gonna be able. Yep, there he goes. There he goes. I got a life-size Santa that I just picked up yesterday. After we done putting all this up, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of tour. Yeah, we starting now, right? Because if you understand vampiric spiritual energy, right? You understand what high times of vibration. This is a high time of year. There's so much power. Just people don't know how to tap into it. You understand what I'm saying? And if you know how to feed off of that energy, well, this is getting something more in vampiric of nature, right? You'll know what it's about, right? But people that are connected to the real understanding of the death current are people who have a more vibrant appreciation for life. Let me put this back. I don't want to knock it over. But we getting ready. Like I said, I don't play around with that. We getting ready. That's the life size joint. Yeah, but as I was saying, people that really work with death current necromancy, it's not death in the sense of something negative. It's not, people just don't understand it. It actually represents people that are connected to that necromancy, that death current, that vampiric energy, have a serious zest and appreciation for life. They're usually very happy people, vibrant people, people that are really connected and linked into their spirituality. That's the difference. Okay. And this is important for us to understand. So this is not living people, right? She shows you that. right? And sometimes the hardest pill to swallow is you've been living a life of death and dead energy, and a lot of us have not been aware of it until we came on this path. Now we know, right? So let me finish with this, right? The legend about Adrat Lily varies, and many have Semitic origins, which used to describe a group of night entities, vampire demons, who have sexual intercourse with men during their sleep, taking the semen to make new demons. Usually when we working with this Lilith's aspect, she doesn't come alone. Instead, in vision, she comes with her sons and daughters, the Lilithus, right? Vampire demons of sexual pleasure, the ones who feed the vital energy of those who summons them. At the same time, they provoke dreams and erotic pleasures. And if you've never experienced the Lilithus, I could tell you this, because I'm very familiar with this part here. It takes you to a whole nother level of bliss, transformation, awakening, and awareness. And it involves all those things. This aspect is something that the practitioner must be able to harness, because this can be, again, very uplifting, very empowering, or it can be very destructive and controlling, right? The practice of vampirism is quite complex and controversial, even for the practitioners of the left-hand path. And like I say, on Patreon, we have an ongoing vampire class, right? This is because this practice is viewed or read in the shallow way. And the first thing that comes to our mind is psychic vampirism, or the practice of drink energy of another living creature. This is just a part of what vampirism is. Vampirism is close to kleptophic practices and has a close relationship with dark alchemy. I've always said it deals with accessing high spiritual understanding of the astral realm, feeding off of energy spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, enhancing the psychic powers and abilities. It's a very disciplined, highly evolved spiritual path, right? This means the transcendence of the spirit through the mystical union of the eros and the thanatos, life and death. Okay. This is look. I'm just, it's hard to put a lot of this in words. It's when the consciousness and the spirit go beyond the primal void, which is on Thamuel. It's the searching of the immortality of the consciousness and the soul. I couldn't put it any other way. When you're connecting with Lilith, if I had to sum it up in a quick phrase, it's connecting with the immortality of your consciousness and your soul. That, if I had to describe in short what Lilith represents, that's the way I would have to put it in words. Though it's hard to put any of this into simple words, it's very complex. But if you told me, if somebody would have asked me, Baniti, what is it like working with Lilith? Or Baniti, why is it you want to connect and work with Lilith? Or why should anybody, for that matter? And that would be my answer. If you want to connect with the immortality of your consciousness, which simply means there's no limitations. When you understand the power of the subconscious mind, when you tap into all aspects of your multiverses and your subjective realms and your subjective consciousness, and if you want to understand the immortality of your soul, your existence, that is why I would encourage somebody to work with Lilith. But you must be willing to deal with what all of those things in between that must be faced, done, and worked with in order to get there. Right? It's not free. Remember, as I said before, nothing in this existence is free. Not even the very motherfucking air you breathe is free. Because if your body and you ain't healthy, and you're right, even breathing costs at some point. Okay? All right. Let's continue on. Vampire, almost done here. Then I'll go to the chat. I got one short section to get through. I just want to finish this, and then I'll go through some of your questions and comments. All right, just be patient. Vampire practice has a high erotic content. Usually is a spiritual practice linked with astral/dreaming plane, and where the initiated shapeshift to visit other realities and enter in contact With the Lilith or children of Lilith, it's possible to see vampirism as the dark gift of the goddess, or in other words, becoming in creatures of the night, developing our dark powers, projecting our astral bodies to other realities. Thus, with the pass of time and with different initiations, we will be able to discover a new and advanced forms of vampirism, which have a direct relationship with the concept of the black dragon or the shadow of the Kundalini, the Tala chakras, advanced forms of necromancy, and the transcendence of the consciousness after the death of the physical body. This is all the things Lilith shows you. So how could people just, some people, not all, how could some just limit the sexual energy thing all the time? Look at the high forms of spiritual growth and spiritual intellect, knowledge, wisdom, and power and understanding come with that's connected to working with her energy. This is the aspect that I personally connect with, right? This is describing everything that Lilith means to me, represents to me, and describes what I've experienced with her in my work, in my ritual work, right? If so, all of these could sound promising. This kind of practices aren't free risk. Working for a long time with these kind of rituals usually produced deep obsession on the initiated, falling in the astral trap of the Lilith that can get devoured by the sex force, which won't doubt of devouring energetically the magician, but won't be aware of this. The astral plane in this region could be very enchanted because you find there both pleasures beyond the flesh, erotic dreams, etc. The concept of power is also present. The magician could have fast and intense results in a short period of time, and one has everything that he wants and could feel no interest in keep growing spiritually. So my advice is make this exploration with the mind open, but taking some precautions. Don't be obsessed, and the most important thing, always seek the balance. Only in this way will you be able to keep on and don't fall into the astral traps. And that is so true. Do your due diligence, your research, your intent, and your approach is everything in your work. If you understand these things, and this is in your intent when you approach working with Lilith in rituals, you will have that balance and harmony. You won't get devoured by the Lilith or the sexual forces or the energy, the incubus, the succubus. You can. I've watched people get obsessed with it and get controlled, say, through the sex force or sex energy. It can happen. Don't think it can't. I've found myself at periods in certain stages becoming oversexed, right? That can happen, right? But you have to catch it. You have to harmonize it out. You have to work with it. And knowing and being aware of what it's describing here is gonna, as it says, make you not fall into those astral traps. And I'm not going to get into this here. We did a whole thing on the conference at that. We also must understand the difference between astral sex and physical sex. Two totally different things. And how they affect the body spiritually and physically, right? You must be able to decipher between the two. You must also be able to know how it is applied, work with, and connected. They're not the same thing. They're very different, okay? So we must be aware of that, all right? That's kind of what I want to cover. There's so much more, but I wanted to cover just some of her main manifestations and aspects, right? I wanted to do that because I wanted people to get a good, thorough understanding of that. So, all right, let me go up to the top. I'm going to go through the chat, see time permitted, how much I can get through. All right. I do want to try to cut this a little short. I know I've been doing 4-hour joints. I'm not going to make this a 4-hour joint tonight, maybe 2 and maybe another 30 minutes. Again, we do have what inspired this class. We are doing a ritual with Lilith. You have to be on Patreon to participate if you're not here physically. We are doing the Cavern Lilith ritual of the Clip Pop. We're doing that ritual on Friday, November 11th. For those that are able to physically get here, you're more than welcome to participate. Just reach out to me. And then there's those that will be participating and doing it along with us on Patreon. You got to be a tier 3 member, though. Right? You see it's been scrolling on the bottom. I would encourage people to go to patreon.com. /Baniti, Baniti, as you see going on the bottom there, and join tier 3. We're going in depth. Lilith was part of our shadow work the previous month. We just came out of some work with her through the shadow work classes. So we are connecting with her on all aspects through both. All right. So let's see what we got here. All right. Anyway, greetings and infernal blessings to all, to get that out of the way. If I didn't greet everybody in the beginning. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Hold on. Fucking jumped. Okay, there we go. Yes, we will be talking about in the next class, Sperl and Lily, our class this month, we will be talking about the Luciferian ritual. I don't know if you came on late. So on the 22nd, if you are a Patreon member, and I think you are, that is the last class of the month. And we will be going over that ritual that I mentioned. So I'm not sure if you heard me say that earlier. All right. What else we got? Yes, a comment earlier from Devon. To me, she's the queen of vampires, most definitely. Kevin Bourne, what's going on? Kevin was here at the conference. Fun. Kevin came from New York, actually my hometown, Queens, New York. Good brother. I'm glad you came out. It was nice meeting you. I wish there was something. There was a funny experience with Kevin in the ritual. It was an initiatic ritual. And I told him about it. It was funny because part of the ritual, they were linked up and they couldn't let go of each other. And when I say Kevin didn't literally let go, we literally had to, he was clawed on to the person in front of him, but I'm just going to leave it at that. But shout out to brother Kevin, who was here for the conference. Appreciate you coming out, man. Hopefully we'll see you again. Soul Therapy Tarot says, when I first started my path, she was the one who reached out, not sexually, matter of fact, that went full on celibacy for over a year, but the thirst for knowledge was and is still so surreal. Her desire and loss aspect is just how is now coming. Lust. It's funny you say that. We've talked a little bit about, the celibacy thing. That's a form of sex magic too, right? Some people, men sometimes will do sperm retention as a magical practice to charge up the magical power of the sexual fluids or the orgasm. Or celibacy can be used on some other form of a spiritual and magical practice. So, but I'm pointing that out because I'm glad you said you were in that practice at that time, and the aspect of knowledge, the different aspects, the thirst for knowledge came out, and that's what I was referring to earlier. So that's an awesome thing right there. Yes, Hollow Gator says, "Destroy, I embrace." Yeah, you must, you have to embrace, right? But again, we were talking a lot about this devouring thing, this destroying thing. The question is, what are we replacing it with, right? So yes, you have to embrace all aspects of this path, everything. All right, what else we got? Okay, this goddamn, yeah, when I was talking earlier, I see Linda Brooks put in about the elders and respect. Yeah, again, I want to be clear on that. Just because somebody has a title, that doesn't entitle them to respect. I don't give a shit what anybody says, right? Some people feel because a person is of a certain age or they've been in something for so long that automatically entitles them the respect of an elder. I know people who are much younger, but much more wiser and have much more of an understanding knowledge-wise. They're more of an elder in nature than some people who are older. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some elders by age and wisdom are true elders. But I was saying that earlier in reference to that doesn't automatically entitle, because a lot of people take these titles, they give them to themselves. I always ask people when they have a title, where'd you get the title from? And how did it get attached to you? Did you earn it going through some system or whatever? And you'll find out that's all bullshit anyway. What else we got? All right. Hollow Gator says, never looked into it, but I can tell by everything you're saying, she definitely been, well, yeah. You're going to see a lot of the reflections of whether, as you say, good point, with anybody else. Maybe you don't have direct on experience with her directly connected to her, but you probably can see there's a lot of aspects that we have connected in regards to that, right? All right, Devon McCain says, excuse me, that was my biggest lesson, right? Going through her spear of Gamaliel, I was at a point where I was very overly wasting my sexual energy, and she hit me with the hammer of discipline, revealing my repressed stuff. See, she will show you. Sometimes Lilith will take you to the point, if you have a natural high sexual energy drive, she'll take you to the point where you'll lust, and as a man, you'll bust so many nuts to the point you'll just be drained. She'll make you feel that, or she'll make you feel a lack of control or discipline, which will tie you into wasting energy, right? Now, we also have to take into fact and consideration, remember, we as men, we're external. We have external sex organs. We get drained a little more easier. Women are internal when it comes to their sexual organs, and they're recharged by their menstrual cycle, the lunar cycle of the moon, and there's an internal process that recharges them, so it's different. And we have to understand that. And I can only obviously speak as a man in regards to that. So I would say to you or any other man, yes, we have to have discipline over that sexual energy. We have to be able to indulge, appease, and satisfy. But at the same token, we must be disciplined, because if we're not, it could take us down the path where we can kind of feel like we're getting controlled by it, or as you described, wasting vital sexual energy. That's a good point. All right. Obadiah says, so Lilith is all over my astral chart. So I was told, how can I understand better what that means? Understanding what she represents, everything we're talking about here. I would encourage you to simply gather as much knowledge and information that you can learn about her, because understanding, like what we did tonight and what we're doing here, is going to help you understand yourself. And if you want to take it a step further, start with some workings with her. It could be start simple out the gate with just meditations, a simple invocation, right? Sigil meditation is always very powerful. Just a simple invocation and meditating on her sigil. Try some of those effective practices to connect. It's just going to help you understand yourself. Keona says, while listening to this topic, watching show The Bastard Son and the Devil Himself on Netflix. I got to watch that. Somebody brought that to my attention down at my 9 rounds boxing gym. I got to check that out. Okay, let me see what else I can get to. Yes, good point. Shout out to Nefertari. Good point by Devon. She can also represent the Scarlet Woman of Satriel / the Dark Mother as well. Yes, I mean, we touched on just very brief aspects with the clip. I mean, we didn't even really explore it. I just wanted to run through some of the main, even though we were talking about Gamaliel, Thamuel, and Thatranax, and some of those tunnels and some of those aspects of the clip. But yes, she's connected to that Scarlet aspect too. Working when you're going through the clip off in those tunnels in regards to Lilith, man, there's many facets you're going to deal with her in regards to that. All right. What else we got? All right. Shout out to Scuba Nut becoming a new member here on the YouTube. Yes, and again, if you want to support, another way to support the channel, there's YouTube memberships just for support. Obviously, you can join Patreon. There's Super Chat. There's the PayPal in the description box. There's always ways to show your support. You know me, I don't beg for donations, but like I say, there's always ways if you want to voluntarily show your support. It's there. I never really get on here trying to pump that, but I do appreciate those that do show the support. All right. What else we got? I'm just trying to kind of go through stuff that applies. The banishing thing, yeah, Devon was agreeing with that. Yeah, I don't do banishing. I made that clear for years. I don't fuck with none of that stuff. Yeah, the circle of the dragon, which presences the telepathic energy by calling on each spear's gatekeeper. Yeah, any calling, summoning, a formal opening, casting a circle, you always want to summons or harness that energy. There's also the Luciferian circle of magic. There's some that do a similar practice that you described. I always recommend something in that line because as a magician, once you harness that power and you draw it to your ritual space, I always seal it in. It's like now you are that divine sorcerer of your multiverse, right? You have all of this power at your display, but you're in control of it because you've summoned it, called it, and you've sealed it into your sacred space. That's the difference. So you're the controller, you're the facilitator. However you want to use that energy, whether it's in a productive, a destructive manner, a healing manner, whatever it may be, you now have control and flow over the energy because you've drawn it into your magical domain. Whether you call it a magical circle, spear, whatever you want to call it, right? That's what the good understanding of an ad that knows what he or she is doing, right? Yes, that's a good point by Will Knight. Once the void is breached, especially voluntarily, there is always some kind of attachment carried by the individual. And this is why we must, again, be aware and knowledgeable of what we're doing. All right. What else we got? This is a question from Jamie Tower. Brother, do you perform mountain religions for Lilith to mount me? It doesn't. People ask this all the time. That's not how this works. I just need to be clear on something. First of all, each individual has their own relationship with the spirit, right? I can't just say mounting rituals can be done, but you can't. Somebody just can't do it for somebody if they don't have an established relationship with the spirit. This is how Lilith works. I might go to Lilith and Lilith may not be in approval of doing that for somebody. That's just, there's two processes. This is not just as simple like in other traditions, say in Ifa or Santeria, or other traditions where you can pay somebody to do that for you, which I got to be honest with you, probably more than 50% of the time is bullshit. There has to be certain things, criteria met there. First, I don't just do it for anybody that I don't know. I'm definitely not. I must have an established relationship with the person. I must pick the person's brain to understand why would you want that to happen, right? And there has to be an established relationship there. You don't just do something like that just to do it, because if that was the case and it was just about that, not only would I be doing a disservice to myself, I would be doing a disservice to the practitioner. So you have to have an established connection with Lilith before that can even be maintained. There has to be some history or documentation there. There has to be some verification through divination or otherwise that that's what needs to be done. It's not something, and it's not just in this path. It could be in Ifa. It could be in Santeria. There has to be a criteria that's met before that can even happen. So no, I don't just voluntarily do that for anybody that just asks for it to be done. I need to make that clear. So obviously not. There would have to be some history there, and plus it would have to be with the person I have some type of relationship with. So I would encourage you or anybody else, I don't know where you're at, maybe you have a long connection there. But if not, I would encourage you to establish that and make sure, you got to make sure that's what Lilith wants, not just about what you want. That's not what Lilith may want, right? I told you, she's not the type of spirit where you can just go, this is what I want, because you might invoke her wrath or her anger, and that could fuck you up even more. Right. So long story short, there is a criteria, the aforementioned, that must be met. Okay. So hopefully that answers. All right. And I think, Sister Hannah, that would be the same reply to you. Right. It would be the same thing. What else we got? And I guess there's a few of you guys. Same thing. Now, we do rituals here, and we've done them, right, in certain settings to connect. What the hell is that? Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Got an Alexa going off over here. Hold on. Alexa, do notifications.
You don't have any notifications.
Turn it off, Alexa. Sorry about that. Mixing was going off in my son's room. Set the alarm. Yes. So yeah, but yes, rituals can be performed for Lilith to mount. No, I don't just do that randomly. I mean, might be other people out there to do that. There has to be a certain criteria there. It goes a little bit more intricate than that. Okay. All right. What else we got? Yeah, the Santa thing. Like I say, man, you can't see it here. It's not decorated yet. We've pulled the tree out. Like I say here, I don't care what anybody else thinks. As I've said before, the holidays is a high time of the year for me. I love the holiday season. I love everything about it. Right. I know people have their own opinions. Some people hate it. They despise it. They can't stand it. Could be from their past, what they experienced. I have a strong connection with it as a small child to the present. It's always been a positive aspect of my life going back to a small child. It was even when things were not good. I was fortunate, like I said, raised in a household with both parents my whole life. But even when times were not good financially or things may not have been good, the holidays were always a time of serious upliftment. And one thing my mother and my father always found a way to change that energy and that current, regardless of how tough things might have been. It was always a great time of the year. It was always about family. It was always about connecting with people. It was always about, creating the energy of it in its totality, not just the commercial shit. I'm not talking about all that. Yes, there's an aspect of the holidays that becomes seriously materialistic and seriously gluttonous and all. I'm not talking about that. But the family aspect, the getting together with people, talking fellowship, the food, the vibing together, and just all the memories that come with it, seeing people, it's just a different energy. In addition to the power that's out there spiritually, it's the most powerful time of the year. That's why I shut down. Right? I tap into that, man. I love it, and I wish it lasted longer. But we start early around these parts. All right. All right. What else we got? The whole Santa Satan thing, that's just a play on words. Yeah, phonetically, you can twist the words around, right? And we know Santa, like it's saint, right? So when you say it's Santa, it's a Spanish word, like you say, for saint, like Santa Muerte, saint of death, or Muertes, death, right? But there's been a phonetic play on words of some people in the conscious community that go, oh, Santa Claus wears words. If you twist the words around, he's Satan. Well, that's good because I'm connecting with the adversary of Satan. So that's great. If that's what it represents, then boom, I'm right in alignment with what I'm doing. Okay. And if you really understand, if you really want to get into the history, actually Saint Nicholas, when you go into the Catholic Church, right, was an actual saint that actually was known for helping children, right? So if you research, he's a canonized saint in the Catholic Church. So he's known for, Saint Nicholas was known for always going to less fortunate children, giving them presents, always was trying to make them feel better, this or that. So they took that Saint Nicholas mythology and ran with it. Then you got to mix in the pagan and the Celtic stuff that comes in with it, etc. So you're talking about an inblending of mythologies. I mean, I can get into a whole thing on that. But Saint Nick, right? Or Santa Claus, that's why Saint Nick or Saint Nicholas is connected to Santa. They connected the mythology of Santa with the legend of Saint Nicholas, right? Or Saint Nick, as they call him for short. I don't, like I said, all those conscious people that go to these, I don't give a fuck. So if it's in line with that, it's just a play on words. That's all. Phonetically. If it's, I've heard, you see Santa, if you reverse it in, it's Satan. So Santa's Satan, and we shouldn't be exposing our kids to Satan. But that's your kids. You do what the fuck you want with your kids. I ain't got no problem with it. Got no problem with it. Okay, what else we got? Yes, that's and God is plasma. Now, there's rituals I do in regards to that. You don't have to be fully mounted to get that. You're right. It's not about the sex energy. You're right. I focus more on that aspect when even the ritual we're getting ready to do on the 11th. Now we have to understand there's a difference between, we were talking about this in a conference too, a full mounting and being touched by the spirit, right? People can experience aspects of mounting, which is called touched by the spirits, right? You can get touched. The full mountain process is that's a whole different thing. I just not compelled in that it would have to be in a certain situational circumstance. It's not something I'm interested in just randomly doing, right? It would have to be the right fit. And first of all, my connection with Lilith would have to approve of it. Okay. Mika, couldn't you also take energy and transmute that energy and feed off of it for your own purpose to build your energy? That's vampirism, most definitely. Most definitely. It's just you must have the thorough understanding to do that correctly. Yes, that can be done. Devon says, in my house, we put our Christmas trees up early. I love it because to me, it represents the Kabbalistic tree and the attainment of Kathir/Damuel. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. That's what I'm saying when I'm at my tree is up right. You can't see it. It's nothing on it yet. We just put it together. Man, listen, man. This year I'm gonna do it. I've been saying I gave a peek a couple years ago. I'm gonna take you around the house. Once we got, look at this puppy I found. Let me show you this shit. I found this bad boy. Found this at home. I had to cop this. This bad boy ain't no joke right here. I don't know if you can see this. But let me I gotta go to the other frame so you can see it. So I have several different Santas that represent. I like these old classical Santas right here. These they got like an old ancient feel to them. Hold on, I don't know if you guys can see it in the view. With the backdrop. Hold on. Yeah, I think you can. Let me see if I can bring it in. Nah. I don't think I can bring it in. Nah, it's not showing. Oh, there he goes. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me see. Yeah, I think you can see it a little bit. This bad boy is no joke. Can't really. There it is. But yeah, this one is all, maybe I could do this. This one is all decked out in silver. This shit is awesome right here, man. This one is awesome. Yeah, there you go. Now you can see the whole thing. I copped this bad boy. Got this one yesterday. I have about several. I'm gonna show you when they're all set up. We put them all throughout the houses, man. It's awesome. Awesome. So, like I said, I don't care what anybody says about damn Christmas, man. We celebrate it. Okay, love it. Love everything about it. Everything. So, but that's a good point. So get your Christmas on. Get your Christmas on is all I gotta say. All right, what else we got? Susanna says, I have a lust for knowledge, and that's why I want to work with her. Please offer us on how to summon. Like I said, the ritual on Patreon, there's several rituals there. The summoning thing is a very simple practice, right? There's many books out there that shows you how to summon and connect with her. But again, you have to have that, as I said before, you have to realize, number one, she doesn't just reach out to everybody. It's not an easy spirit to connect with, as sometimes is described. There's bullshit to that. I'm going to be straight up with you, right? You have to establish that connection. You have to build that relationship. And really, that don't just apply to Lilith. That's a lot, but it applies even more to Lilith, right? So by you making that intent and that desire to want to learn more, to do simple things like meditations, invocations, etc., is going to open that doorway and path to get to what you're describing, right? So that's something you're going to have to establish, right? Dee says, have you seen a connection to Lilith and the river Styx? Maybe I'm not understanding what that is, to be honest with you. I'm not going to pretend. Hold on. Let me see what you're talking about. Okay. You're talking about the boatman. Okay. Oh, the Greek river. Yeah. But look, there's, as I said before, I was saying in the beginning, maybe came on, whether it's Greek mythology, whether you're going to see a lot of synchronizations in other pantheons, other paths. And again, not just with Lilith, but I was talking about that earlier. Yes, if you see that connection there and you're able to connect that in your spiritual work and it makes sense with you, most definitely there's a connection there, right? Is there a documented or is there a across the line, across the board, documented factual connection? No. But the thing is, if you're making a connection with it in your personal work and it's working for you, that's all that matters. And that's not just with that, that could be anything, right? And then Devon says, yes, she can definitely transform one's energy and Daemon into that of a vampiric one through the Gamaliel portion of the initiation, most definitely. In reference to the clip path, yep. All right, what else we got? All right, so this is what we're going to do. Apparently, we got a fool in here. We're not going to be dealing with stupidity. So this is what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to remove people from the room. We're not going to have people asking people for used panties and all this stupid shit. So I don't know who that person was, James Talbot. He's gone. All right, we're not going to be dealing with stupid shit like that. He's asking some female in the room. We're not going to tolerate that. All right, so no stupid shit. So he's been blocked. Okay, you won't see any more of his messages. Okay, so we're blocking him. All right. We don't have a monitor here right now. Let me see who I can assign a monitor, somebody I know. Well, I'm almost done. But anyway, yeah, we're not going to tolerate, people saying stupid shit like that to people in the room. Just not. It's not. It's just we're not going to do that. Mika, I'm going to assign you. You're in the room. Let me assign you real quick. Demetrius, I'm going to assign you as a monitor for assholes. Damn, I wish you was here earlier, brother. All right, I'm going to assign Demetrius as a monitor and Mika. Yeah, if you see people doing dumb shit like that, just block them, man. We're not going to have them coming here asking for women's panties and shit like that. Stupid. Okay. We ain't got time for that shit. Yeah, Demetrius, I was shouting you out earlier, brother. Shouting you out earlier for the help. All right, I'm going to try to take a few more of these questions and then wrap this up. It's getting late. I've been on already for 2.5. All right, so Mika, you a monitor now, and Demetrius, I made Demetrius a monitor. See idiots coming in, asking women for their panties. We just ain't got time for that shit. And you don't need panties to work within any entity. All right, what else we got? Any other questions? All right, I'm trying to see if there's anything else there. All right, Devin said. So I see some of you guys getting in here late. Good question from Mika. What if you have a low sexual drive? That's a good question, right? It could be for a multitude of reasons, right? We would have to establish, right? For an example, some people have low sexual drives because, one, maybe they were sexually abused, and it's turned them off to the sex energy. That could be one reason. Maybe the person has had really bad history of relationships and something happened in them relationships where it turned them off to that sexual energy, or that sex drive got lessened. There could be a medical issue there, right? Could be something mental. I'm saying all these things because it could be a variety of any and all those things. So we'd have to establish why the sex drive is low. And then based on, once we get clarity on why that is, and it could be the reverse too. It could be that maybe somebody has a sex drive that's through the roof and it's uncontrollable. We need to understand why, what's causing it, what's the root cause of it. And then from there, the smart thing would do to be address it as need be, right? So if you're asking that in a broad sense, and if you have it, we need to establish why, what's causing it. And the question is, are you being asked because you want to increase it, or are you being asked because you're just trying to understand why, right? So it just all depends. But step one is identifying why, what's causing, let's say, a low drive or a high drive, right? D says, my man has been getting me to sell mine. All right. All right, what else we got? What else we got? All right, let's see. I'm looking for questions here. All right, so this was, I see a statement here from Coupe de Villain, may have missed, but are Santa Muerte and Lilith connected? Again, across the board. Is there any documented connection? No. But can you connect certain aspects? Yes. For an example, her red aspect. This came up at the conference too. The red aspect of Santa Muerte, there's some vampiric aspects to that, right? So you can connect certain aspects in regards to that of Santa Muerte that are synchronized with similar energy to Lilith, right? You could do this again across the board with in many different aspects with different gods, goddesses, or demons. What's up? Did you set your alarm for earlier? Yeah, I turned it on. That's right. Yeah. So yes, there you can see the connection there, right? That's naturally the practitioner can uncover through their research and their study and their work. So yes, there is some connection there for sure. All right. All right. I appreciate that, Scuba Nut. I'm needy, love your work. I'm new to the path. You're my friend and gifted. You lucky bugger. Well, I appreciate that. Okay. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I'm just, like I say, I don't want, people coming in here. I mean, maybe you guys, some of you women might be okay with it, but I just don't, want you guys to get thrown off. I guess if you don't mind, you don't mind, but I'm not gonna have anybody asking for panties and shit like that. All right. Anyway, what else we got? Oh yeah, the Lilith energy is definitely acting up. This is why I'm saying we're shaking nut up. People asking for panties and lusting, and we just talking about it, right? But hey. Santa Claus, Satan Claus. Yeah, anyway, any word play you play on it. It's all good. What's going on? Why does everybody want to block E Swooge? What's all that? I don't want to get distracted with all that crap. All right, Dee says, I shifted back on Dee since everybody wants her panties. She says, I do have a connection to Lilith, and I can attest to what Baniti said. Lilith is about deep shadow work and healing, especially sexual wounds and finding your voice. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The sexual aspect is there, right? Can't negate that. But you have to understand the context of it, and you have to be very cautious in working with all the things that we were talking about. You bring up sexual wounds. That's a good point, because a lot of people are dealing with sexual wounds. It could even be in relation to the question earlier about a low sex drive or a high sex drive, because as I said earlier, sexual abuse usually gives one of the extreme. I find people who have been sexual abuse victims either become highly sexualized because of it, because that's left a traumatic effect there where for some reason they feel like tapping in on an over-sexualized aspect is almost a form, really, they think it's dealing with it, but it's almost a form of masking it, or they can be very turned off by sex where they don't want to have anything to do with it. That's a very normal result of somebody who's been a sexual abuse victim, right? It could be other just bad relationships, right? Bad experiences in those relationships. So whether it's sexual abuse, it could be rape, a lot of these things. These are all fall in that category of sexual wounds, sexual energy, right? And Lilith brings that, to the surface, right? She brings it, and you must face it. You must deal with it. All right, what else we got? My Ify loves that shit. She puts up the tree, and I put up a pentagram to balance the energies. That's got to be fun, right? Look, my thing is, look, when it comes to stuff like this, if you have the power of imagination, right, and one of the most powerful tools as a practitioner on this path is your imagination, right, and the power of your mind, right? See, everybody's going to tap in on a different level. So the reason why you always hear me like this time of the year hard with the holidays, because I have my own intent, energy, and connection to it of the aforementioned things, right? So it can manifest to whatever you want it to be. Now, there are some people, which I don't have any connection to. There's some people who are connected to the very Christian religious aspect of the holidays. Now, that's just some straight bullshit, because that's connecting to you to something else. But to them, that might be real to them. So I don't recommend being on this path connecting to that aspect of the holidays, because that would be counterproductive to what you're doing, baby Jesus and all that other shit, right? But if you look at Santa as the great conductor, magician of the whole theme of the holidays, you look at the colors, red, right? Red represents the passion. Yes, you can play the phonetic words on Satan or Santa, right? But Santa really, like, when dealing with this path, is a great magician, because he has all these so-called magical powers, right? He could astral travel from anywhere. He can be in any part of the world. He can break the barriers of time. I'm just trying to tell you, you got to take this shit and turn the blueprint into something that works for you. I always use what Walt Disney did, right? Forget the history of Walt Disney. I know he had some corrupt shit about some whatever. I'm talking about how he came up with the archetype, the whole blueprint of the whole Disney thing, to the point where it is something that is making multi-million dollars on a daily basis. And he's long and gone. He has stamped something in the now And it still functions as something so powerful where you have people who are Walt Disney fanatics because they connect with the energy. There's something in that energy with those characters that speaks and communicates to themselves. Whether it's a form of escapism or whatever. I'm talking about grown adults, not just little kids. So people always will sit there quick to bash stuff like that or bash the character of that person that created. Yeah, they all had fucked up shit they did, skeletons in their closet. But you can't deny the genius of what they created, whether you like the motherfuckers or not. They created something that left a permanent effect and stamp and legacy here while they're long gone in transition. Okay? Look at the magic of what Christmas really represents. Yeah, you could break down all this shit. I could be here talking about forever. I can get in Utah. What's the shit? The mistletoe. I can get into all that shit, its origin and the Celtic and all. But who gives a fuck? Right? I don't. I get my Christmas on around here. Anyway. All right. Yeah, the Santa with the silver, that shit is off the chain. That other one. That shit is off the chain. When I get my other ones out, we setting it up. All right, what else we got? Yeah, me too, Devon. It's personal. Yeah, there's so many occultists, as you say, are humbugs because they turn their nose up at the holidays. I personally love them and utilize them. Who cares about the connotations or whatever? That's where I'm at with it. I don't care. Look, I'm not telling you. I'm not sitting here recruiting anybody and tell them they need to celebrate the holidays, but ain't nobody gonna tell me I can't. I don't give a fuck what your opinion is on it. I don't care what your thought process is on it. This shit is irrelevant to me. Just so save the breath. My thing is, it's a personal choice, just like anything else, right? What else we got? Thanks, Skip. All right, getting down to the end, man. I'm gonna wrap this up. All right. Yeah, once in a while you get the nuts, you get the crazies. All right. Yeah, I assigned some of you other people monitors because my regular monitors, for whatever reason, ain't in here tonight. All right. Oh, Dee, I was saying, is there with the Styx River? Is there? I don't know. Maybe I don't. You said you missed it. There can be a connection there if you're seeing the synchronization. Yes, because when you look at it, you can make that connection. But is there a mainstream narrative across the board that connects that? No. But when you look at it, you can make that connection. And as I'm saying, you can do that with a lot of, not just with Lilith, you can connect, like I was saying even earlier with, for an example, when you synchronize Lilith with other, female gods or goddesses in other paths, like Ishtar or Nana, right? There's a connection there. It's obvious. And what I was saying earlier was if the practitioner has the ability to make that connection and it works for them, that's all that really matters. So yes, there's definitely a connection there. What else we got? Yes, the owl, like I said, the owl, as far as Santa Muerte is concerned, which is getting into something else, there's strong hidden gnosis in the symbol of the owl, right? Remember, I keep telling you, the owl is a nocturnal creature. It has impeccable vision in darkness, right?
So when you're seeing that symbol of the owl in the occult, it's talking about the one who goes into the darkness to attain the light, which is the intellect. And this is why when those who work with Santa Muerte, and I did a whole presentation on Santa Muerte at the conference, one is going in to those mysteries or hypnosis of the void, the abyss, the darkness. And this is why that's one of her most powerful symbols as far as Santa Muerte is concerned. Yeah. Chaos Bao. I've highly recommend Bao Cadman's books. I've had him on as a guest a couple of times here on this YouTube channel, and had him on an old podcast show we used to do. I've always said this with Bao Cadman. Bao Cadman. First, I encourage everybody, you should read, whether it's Luciferian practice, books on Lilith, you should always get a wide varying perspective from different authors. And Bao has his perspective. Just like everything else, there's a lot of things in there that are in alignment. And whether it's him or any other author, I focus on what I vibe with, what resonates with me. And if there's things in there that I just don't resonate with, I just don't bother with it. But overall, I think it's a good book, that there's some good things you can draw out of there. A lot of his books are like that. Even his book on the Citra Aqua, right, that he put out about, I think, a year or two ago. That is a good book too. That will give you a good understanding of the tree of Klippa when he's breaking down the Kabbalistic mysteries in accordance with the tree of death. And he gets into a lot of aspects of Lilith in regards to her and the Citra Aqua. And there's some good stuff in there. But one thing I've always said about Bao Cadman is I think he has a gift of explaining things in a very effective way, simply. I find to read his work, it's simply, not in the sense that it's simple, but he has a very simple and effective way of communicating things. So I would definitely encourage people to check that out and some of his other work too. So definitely, I think there's something you can find or people can get out of that. All right. Okay. True Jewel says, celibacy turned off my sex drive. Okay, yeah, that can happen. So the question I would ask in regards to that, if the celibacy turned it off, are you trying to turn it back on, or are you in a situation where it's caused problems for you? Or is it just something you've accepted, right? But it's interesting you say that. Celibacy can do that. You're the third person I've heard say that I can recollect. I mean, personally, I'm the type of person, unless you have a medical condition, I believe age and all those things. I don't think sexual energy should be turned off completely, because it can be a very empowering aspect, unless, the individual has made that choice for a reason. Because I think there's a lot to be gained in understanding the power of sexual energy. But it's interesting you say that. You're the third person I've heard say that. All right. Sherry King has a question. I always hear that when you tap into various energies like Lilith or do shadow work, you will be faced with hidden parts of yourself, etc. Once those things are revealed to you, then what? All right. So I'm not sure if you came on late. Maybe I'm not sure the time you came on. Once those things are revealed to you, the next step would be designing ritual work to deal with them, right? So, yeah, this is not just about whether it's shadow work or doing work on this path to connect with any of these spirits or demons. It's a very good question. It's not like I'm just want to uncover all this shit and then poof, now the cat's out the bag and now I got a hot cesspool of shit going on. So you're right. But yes, the next step is now you've identified what it is that has come to the surface, right? So now your next step is to design work specifically geared towards addressing those issues particularly, right? That's the purpose of it, right? So if you uncovered something, say you're dealing with psychological trauma, let's just say you were mentally and verbally abused by your parents, right? And through your work with Lilith, it's uncovered that you're still dealing with the psychological trauma of it today. So you would have to design a ritual that is designed to somehow put that into context and perspective where, look, you never forget things like that. They never completely go away in the sense that you completely forget them, but you can put them into perspective where it doesn't affect you moving forward, evolving, and what you're capable of being. I'm just giving you a quick example. That could be one thing. So the work would have to be geared towards the issue once you uncover it. All right, what else we got? Yeah, I'm going to do a Christmas. When I set it up this year, we're going to do that. Demetri said, any excuse that eat and drink with family is friends. Fine by me. All right, what else we got? Yeah, and I'm Demetrius. I talked with Demetrius. Maybe the next show I want to get him in here, and we're gonna set something up to do that. We spoke on that. All right, what is this? All right, there we go. All right. I think that's gonna do it. I don't see any. Yeah. All right, we at the end. All right, so I stayed a little longer than I wanted. And I appreciate you, Sherry King. I see you posted on some of the platforms, liking the videos. I appreciate that. All right, so let me just say this in closing, and then Demetrius, man, give me a call tomorrow. Maybe we can set something up for next week. I would like you to come in and share. We were talking a little bit about vampirism before you came on. One of the aspects of Lilith we covered was her aspect as queen of vampires. But yeah, that'll be interesting build. So maybe we can set that up. All right. So before I go, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Number one, I encourage you guys to check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. That's how you get access to the monthly classes and the ritual. We got shadow work class tomorrow. That's 3:00 Eastern Standard Time. That's shadow work class number 12. So I look forward to seeing those who are going to be able to attend that class. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I thank you guys for the support. I thank you guys for tuning in and supporting all the platforms. We will talk soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and infernal blessings to all. See you guys soon.